You just said that wives are the best, and in the very next moment, you reincarnated from an eternal bachelor into a wretched man. He was an abuser, but he married a famous singer of national renown, and she even gave him an obedient daughter. But ever since they got married, she was unexpectedly fired from the company. It's all your fault. You are a damn jinx. You made me lose my job. You couldn't help but complain. The previous owner of this body was a true scoundrel. At that moment, the mother and daughter who had just suffered domestic violence from the original owner of the body were trembling on the sofa while Shen Jiaochu held the little girl close. Seeing you staring at her, she instinctively pressed Wan against her chest, her eyes filled with tears. It's not that she hadn't thought about leaving with Wan, but she herself was an orphan, and all the money in the house was in the hands of a demon like you. Seeing the fear of both of them, you sighed deeply. Since you are here, just accept it. Then you stood up slowly, turned on the light. A warm orange light illuminated the entire room. Seeing the mess around you, scratched your head not knowing what to do. Then you opened the window for ventilation, and then in silence, picked up the empty alcohol bottles scattered around the house. Shen Jiaochu was still hugging Wan, sitting on the sofa without moving, except that a flash of surprise was reflected in her eyes. You didn't dare disturb the mother and daughter. Instead, you went to the kitchen to get a cloth and wipe the table. Until you left the house, spotless, you were already soaked in sweat. So you went to the bedroom, took clean clothes, and entered the bathroom. Shen Jiaochu looked at the closed bathroom door, her tense body finally relaxed. She observed the room you had cleaned. Her eyes showed deep disbelief. How did this demon suddenly change his character? Mom, I'm hungry. Don't worry, Wan. Wan, wait a moment. Mom will make you something to eat. Shen Jiaochu stroked Wan's hair and said in a low voice, she could only wait for you to fall asleep, to be able to cook for herself and her daughter. At that moment, the bathroom door opened. You came out pushing the door open. The mother and daughter sitting on the small, worn-out sofa shrank inward at the same time. You shook your head, paying no attention to them. You opened the door and went out. Shen Jiaochu froze, with a certain despair in her eyes. Has he gone out to buy more alcohol? Has he still not drunk enough tonight? She and Wan will have to fast for another night. Shen Jiaochu bit her lip. Tears fell uncontrollably. Mom, don't cry, Mom. I'm not hungry anymore, Wan. Thought it was because of her hunger that her mother was crying. So she reached out her soft white little hand, clumsily wiping Shen Jiaochu's cheeks. Shen Jiaochu bit her lip and the tears fell even more. After a while, with a trembling voice, she said softly, Wan, be good. Mom will lull you to sleep. After sleeping, you won't be hungry. Early tomorrow morning, Mom will get up and make you something delicious. Okay, Mom is not crying. Shen Jiaochu softly hummed a lullaby, lulling Wan to sleep. Watching her slowly close her eyes, Shen Jiaochu thinks about what has happened in these 2 years since she got married. With a heart full of bitterness, she finally decides tomorrow she will leave this hell, even if she dies outside. It will be better than dying tortured by this demon. Suddenly, the sound of the door lock is heard. Shen Jiaochu, who is still thinking about her worries, cannot help but tremble again. She instinctively covers Wan's ears, listening silently to the movements outside. You open the front door and instinctively look toward the sofa. You are stunned. The two of them went to the bedroom, but it seems they haven't had dinner yet. You look at the food in your hands, dazed. After thinking about it for a moment, you place the food on the table and walk toward the bedroom. Shen Jiaochu has kept her body tense the entire time. She hears your footsteps slowly approaching the bedroom. In her heart, she prays that you won't enter, but the very next moment, upon hearing this, Shen Jiaochu suddenly opens her eyes. Then she hears your footsteps gradually moving away. The room suddenly falls into silence. Only the tense breathing of Shen Jiaochu can be heard echoing in the bedroom. Wan has opened her eyes without anyone knowing exactly when. She has heard your voice and is looking curiously at the closed door. Today, that smelly dad didn't come back to the room to sleep. And it also seems he said he bought them food. Thinking about food, she gets hungry again. She swallows her saliva and looks at her mother expectantly. Shen Jiaochu lowers her head, sees the expectant look of her daughter, and gathers her courage, walking on tiptoe silently to the bedroom door. She opens the door. The aroma of the food on the table hits her nose. Shen Jiaochu's eyes suddenly grow moist. He really bought food for her and her daughter. Faced with your sudden kindness, Shen Jiaochu feels no joy but rather a deep fear. Why is he doing this? What else does he want to get from her? Wan barefoot also runs over with her little legs. She peeks through this crack of the door and looks outside. Then her eyes suddenly light up and saliva flows. Involuntarily, but she doesn't act on her own. She raises her head and stares fixedly at her mother with her big eyes without blinking. Shen Jiaochu takes a deep breath, then forces a smile and picks up Wan. Be good, Wan. Let's eat quietly. Wan nods her little head obediently. You in the room, of course, hear the noises outside. You sigh deeply. After sighing, you started thinking right after buying the food. You realized that in this house, now there was only a bit over 1,800 left in savings. You had to get money. After a moment, you suddenly straightened up, thinking how you hadn't noticed before. This is a parallel world. Excited, you grabbed the phone and started scrolling through the screen, non-stop. After a while, a smile spread across your face. This world was just like in your memory. The cultural heritage and the entertainment industry were completely different from those of your world. For example, cheesy songs that made you frown could top the hit charts. You squeezed the phone, searching quickly in your mind. It turned out that classic songs were slowly emerging in your mind. As you were thinking, gradually you couldn't hold on any longer. Dragging your tired body, you drifted off to sleep. The next morning at 6 o'clock sharp, you gently opened this door and left the bedroom. The dining table and the kitchen were spotless. It must have been Shen Jiaochu who had cleaned it up after dinner last night. You stood there thinking for a moment. Then you quietly went into the bathroom to wash up. You knew that Shen Jiaochu usually got up at 8 in the morning to cook because the old you used to sleep until after 10. Only after you got up and drank alcohol could the mother and daughter eat your leftovers. You unconsciously sighed again. Then you washed up quickly. Shen Jiaochu in the room was already awake, but she didn't dare go out. The washing noises outside ceased. The door clicked and closed again. Shen Jiaochu pursed her lips, staring fixedly at the bedroom door, curious about where you had gone. She waited for a good while, but there was still no noise outside. Shen Jiaochu looked beside her. Wanwan was still fast asleep. After thinking it over, she gathered her courage and quietly got out of bed. She opened the bedroom door and went out. The smell of alcohol in the room had become faint. Fresh air was coming through the window. It smelled good. This situation felt unreal to Shen Jiaochu. It had been a long time since she smelled that aroma. This fresh aroma, Shen Jiaochu went to the window and looked at the outside world. Without realizing it, she was stunned. Until that moment, she suddenly remembered that she was only 24 years old. I don't know how much time passed. The sound of the door clicked again. Shen Jiaochu was startled then. Unconsciously, she tensed her whole body and turned around mechanically. And you also froze on the spot. You didn't expect that Shen Jiaochu would already be awake. After washing up, you discovered there was no food at home. So you just went out to buy fresh meat and vegetables? You also brought back some rice upon your return. The two of you were stunned. It was then that you could clearly see the appearance of this wife. She was very beautiful, much more so than those internet celebrities from the original world, except that she was far too thin. Her face was even excessively pale, probably due to malnutrition. Seeing this, you felt pain, hatred, and shame in your heart. Unable to say anything. How could you mistreat such a beautiful wife like that? Damn it. Well, good morning. I'm going to cook first. You were the first to break the awkward silence. You took the groceries and quickly went into the kitchen. Shen Jiaochu couldn't believe it. He had greeted her, and since when had he learned how to cook? Shen Jiaochu silently watched the kitchen. Looking at his busy back, a huge sense of injustice overwhelmed her. She bit her lip hard. Her eyes gradually grew moist. What was this? Was he pitying me? Had his conscience awakened Mom Wan? Wan had woken up. She couldn't find her mom, so she ran out barefoot. As soon as she came out, her little nose caught the aroma of the food. She turned her head and looked toward the kitchen with her big eyes. You in the kitchen naturally saw this little one too, so you smiled broadly at her. But unexpectedly, Wan, frightened, shrank behind. Shen Jiaochu, with resignation, you touched your nose. Before long, the food was ready. You looked at the two who were still timidly standing in the distance and said, "Wash up and come eat." Wan was already swallowing her saliva, but she didn't move. Shen Jiaochu was also looking at this scene with some horror. At first you had a certain expectation, but seeing their defensive attitude, the hope in your heart sank to the bottom of the sea. You remained silent for a moment, then you sighed and said, "You guys eat first." Having said that, you went into the bathroom. Shen Jiaochu didn't move. She watched as the bathroom door closed. Then she lowered her head and saw the expectation in her daughter's eyes. She also sighed in her heart. Wan, go eat. On the table, there was the millet porridge that you had prepared, golden and very appetizing, along with 2 small side dishes and a small bowl of steamed egg. The moment she saw the steamed egg, Wan's eyes suddenly lit up. Mom, did Dad make this for Wan? Shen Jiaochu hesitated for a moment. She looked at her daughter's expectant eyes and finally nodded. Wan's eyes became even brighter. Unable to contain herself, she took a spoonful of steamed egg and put it into her mouth. "This is the first time Dad has cooked for me. So delicious, Shen." Jiaochu only ate in silence. Her heart was full of conflict and confusion, and her gaze drifted involuntarily towards the side room. You were sitting in front of the desk in the side room, already starving to death. But you knew that the two outside still couldn't sit at the same table with you to eat. You forced yourself to push that out of your mind. Then you pulled out your phone and opened this world's platform. You deleted the old account, which still had a few thousand followers, and registered a new account. Out of habit, you opened the trending list of the platform, and in the very next moment, you frowned. What garbage is this song? Since when can a song as simplistic as praying at the last minute take over the trending charts? You had a plan in mind. From the desk, you pulled out several music sheets that had been gathering dust for a long time. They were all from when Shen Jiaochu left them behind. You spread the music sheets on the table and your hand flew rapidly across them. You wrote down a 6-line musical staff. In your original world, you were a composer. Now you were only transporting it through time and space. That was not a problem for you. In just a brief instant, a complete music sheet Right now I am leaving. Just when you arrive at the hotel and you still haven't chosen the plane tickets. I just said goodbye to my brother and you're already throwing him out. That's not right. Your fingers gently brushed the strings, and the sound of the guitar spread from the room. Shen Jiaochu, who was eating in silence, was suddenly stunned. He knows how to play the guitar. How is that possible? That guitar was hers. Shen Jiaochu knew it well. He didn't know how to play the guitar, at least not before, but now what was happening? Accompanied by the sound of the guitar, your voice also came out slowly. Shen Jiaochu was left even more dumbfounded, her eyes full of disbelief. Even Wan, who was eating happily, was captivated by the song and stopped moving her spoon. Looking toward the closed door of the side room, with her big blinking eyes, Wan tilted her head toward there. Wan knew it was the first time he had cooked for her. Dad's voice was very soft. Even if Shen Jiaochu had never heard this song, she could feel how incredible this song was. Such a beautiful melody, hard to imagine that it came out of your mouth. Until the next line played, Shen Jiaochu felt a bit devastated. She felt lost again. Fear of the future, and fear of this man's transformation right now. She feared that all this was just a brief dream. The song also stopped at that moment. Wan also noticed that her mother was crying. A bit scared, Wan climbed onto Shen Jiaochu's lap, reached out her little hands and tried hard to wipe away her mother's tears. Mom, don't cry. Wan blows on you, thinking that her mother's body was hurting again. While wiping away Shen Jiaochu's tears, Wan lifted her little face, and pulling open the collar of Shen Jiaochu's clothes, she blew air down her neck. Shen Jiaochu's back was covered in scars. You naturally didn't know what had happened between mother and daughter because of your song. At that moment, you opened the account and pressed to record a video. In the video, you didn't show your face, only letting the part from the nose down be seen. With the guitar in your arms, you cleared your throat. This time you were much more formal. You played and sang the complete song again. Until the song ended, you saved the recording. Then you trimmed the extra time from the beginning and the end. Finally, you extracted the audio and matched it with the lyrics and music. You submitted the copyright application online. Once everything was ready, you edited a title, For a Lifetime, an original song dedicated to everyone. Hope you like it. Please give it many likes and support. The video was uploaded successfully. You let out a deep sigh. What you had thought of was finally done. Now there was only left to wait in silence for the public's reaction. This song was a bombshell in this era. You put the guitar away in the closet, then you touched your stomach. You didn't know if the two of them had already finished eating. So hungry, it really is a punishment, rubbing your stomach. Finally, you couldn't wait any longer. You gently pushed the door open, leaving a small crack. You looked outside like a thief, just when you saw Shen Jiaochu holding Wan. As they moved away from the table, her eyes were red, as if she had just cried. She clearly saw you too. She froze for a moment. Then with the little girl in her arms, she quickly returned to the master bedroom. You sighed in relief. You opened the door and walked over to the table. Finally, you could eat. Seeing the food clearly left for you on the table, you felt a certain joy. Then you took your millet porridge and drank it in large gulps. You cleaned up everything that was on the table. After picking up the dishes and cutlery with nothing to do, you walked around the room, observing the layout of this house. It was a flat with 2 bedrooms and a living room of only 50 square meters. They bought it together when they got married. Everything in the house was bought back then. Those things already looked a bit old and worn out. You shook your head, returned to the sofa, and collapsed onto it. It was hard to imagine how she felt with the little girl. She had lived in this environment, hardly leaving the house for 2 years. It felt like being in prison. You know, you can't change much overnight, so you curl up on the small sofa, playing with your phone, searching how to support a household, how to make a child happy, how to be a good father. The answers on the internet are varied. You scratch your head seeing them. At that moment, the bedroom door suddenly opens and you follow the sound with your gaze. You see a little head popping out. Wan tilting her head. She observes you curiously with those almond eyes just like her mother's. Those bright eyes are full of innocence and clarity. They make your heart melt, but Wan's face is far too thin, just like her mother's. If it were a bit rounder, she would definitely be prettier. It's true. Before this, mother and daughter could only eat leftovers a day, and the little one couldn't even eat the old leftovers. Her original father didn't give them money, so they went hungry at times. Seeing Wan, you instinctively try to smile, but before your mouth stretches, you see Wan. Turn around, close the door quickly, and run back inside. Inside the room, you can hear the voice of Shen Jiaochu comforting the little girl. Your smile freezes on your face, and you touch your nose innocently. Time passes in silence. Until noon, you put down your phone and stand up. It's time to prepare lunch. Just at that moment, the bedroom door opens. Shen Jiaochu, with an expressionless face, comes out of the bedroom carrying a pile of clothes. She seems not to see you standing in front of the sofa and heads straight to the bathroom. You clearly see her body tense up a bit as she comes out. She is going to wash the clothes. Suddenly, you remember that the clothes you changed out of yesterday are still in the washing machine, not taken out. Thinking about that, you also rush toward the bathroom. Shen Jiaochu is very nervous. She didn't expect you to still be at home. Normally at this time, he would have already gone out to drink with those sketchy friends. Hearing your footsteps approaching, she gets even more nervous, her body trembling slightly. Hey, my clothes are still in the washing machine. Can I take them out first to hang them up to dry? Shen Zhaochu, who is bending over opening the washing machine, gets startled. She stumbles and shrinks back into the corner of the bathroom. Be careful. Well, you take them out first, thanks. You clench your fists and your hands also tremble a bit. In your gaze, you can barely hide the anger and pain. You just clearly saw the reddish-purple blood marks below Shen Zhaochu's collar. You gather the clothes from the washing machine without looking at her further. You just say, I'm going to prepare lunch. Remember to call Wan Wan to eat. Wan Wan is asleep. Then go wake her up. Shen Zhaochu shrinks back a bit more, looking extremely agitated. You only stress her out by being here, so you touch your nose with resignation. You take the clothes from the washing machine, go quickly to the balcony to hang them up, and then you enter the kitchen. Inside the bathroom, Shen Zhaochu, clutching the clothes, remains frozen until the smoke and fire from the kitchen make her react. She trembles as she puts the clothes into the washing machine, but her gaze drifts involuntarily toward the kitchen thinking, what is wrong with him? Shen Zhaochu touches her nose instinctively and suddenly freezes again. When did she pick up that habit? Shen Zhaochu stands in front of the washing machine, listening to the spin of the drum, with her heart very confused until the clothes finish washing. She takes the clothes out and goes to the balcony to hang them up, and that man is still busy in the kitchen, working with a piece of dough. Wan Wan, without waiting for Shen Zhaochu to call her, wakes up on her own, rubbing her sleepy little eyes with her small hands. In the next moment, when she sees you bustling around in the kitchen, her beautiful big eyes clearly light up then. Curious, she leans against the kitchen doorframe, looking at your back. Shen Zhaochu finishes hanging the clothes. She turns around and sees the scene, the little Wan Wan, filled with expectation and you busy in the kitchen. Shen Zhaochu breaks down mentally. She turns around quickly, leans against the wall, covers her face with her hands, and slowly squats down. Tears fall in silence. This is a scene she only saw in dreams a long time ago. This time again, you don't eat with them at the table. After serving the food, you quickly leave the house. Hearing the sound of the door, Shen Zhaochu hurriedly wipes the tears from her face. She stands up, takes Wan Wan, and approaches the table. Nobody knows how complex her mood is right now. Not even she knows what she's thinking. The food is still as delicious as breakfast, and the little one is already enjoying her steamed egg custard. You open the door and come in. Wan Wan moves a bit closer to Shen Zhaochu with the little spoon she eats the custard with, still in her mouth, and her big eyes follow your movements. You lower your eyelids, not daring to look at this frightened mother and daughter. You just approach the sofa and leave the bag you are carrying. Then you say, I bought you some ointment. Remember to use it. And I also bought a toy for the little girl. I don't know if she will like it. I've seen that other little girls have one and she should have it too. Shen Zhaochu doesn't answer you. After speaking, you stay silent for a moment and then you add, I know you don't trust me, but there's something I must say. From now on, I won't drink anymore and I will never hit you guys again. You and Wan Wan don't have to be so afraid at home. The girl is small and this environment is not good for her. You finish speaking all at once, feeling the weight in your chest lift, and you didn't wait for Shen Zhaochu's answer. You walked silently toward the side bedroom. Shen Zhaochu followed you with her gaze until you disappeared and she saw the door close. She didn't know what else to say. In just a single day, faced with the sudden change of this man, it was still hard for her to lower her guard. In the bedroom, you were even more distressed. Your eyes were bloodshot. Clearly you had also cried before. If I could, I wish I hadn't transmigrated. Not to know everything that happens here, especially seeing every scar on Shen Zhaochu's body. Your heart clenched until it almost broke. You really couldn't understand why someone could have so much malice toward their loved ones. After eating, they left you something, but when you came out of the room, you saw the things you had bought them on the small table. The bag was still unopened. You pursed your lips and sighed. You had no choice but to sit down and eat in silence. But just then, the master bedroom door opened again. Wan Wan poked a little head out, looking at you with curiosity. You quickly flashed a smile for her this time. Finally, she didn't run away, scared. Your heart eased up a bit. The tightness calmed down. Thanks to that weak little creature, you felt a bit healed. You put down your chopsticks and with all the tenderness of your life, you softly called out to Wan Wan. Your voice made her tremble slightly, but she didn't retreat. On the contrary, she turned her head to look inside the bedroom. Then, as if she had received encouragement, she looked at you again. A tender and weak childish voice came from her mouth, Dad. Upon hearing that voice, your entire body shook and your eyes welled up instantly. It was undoubtedly the most beautiful voice you had heard since you transmigrated, but Wan Wan tilted her little head, looking at you with strangeness as you laughed and cried at the same time. You nodded hard and stood up from your pocket. You pulled out the doll, you held it and rocked it gently in front of her. Wan Wan's big eyes seemed to move. She looked at the doll, then looked back inside the bedroom. After a good while, she finally approached you, shuffling her feet. Your heart beat like a drum. Fearing to scare this little one who was finally coming close, she reached your side, lifted her little face, took a deep breath, and the very next moment, she flashed a happy smile. The doll is pretty, right? Her little hands moved, wanting to take it but not daring to. She just stared at you with her big dark eyes. Instantly you understood her gesture and you slowly knelt down to be at her height. You placed the toy gently in her hands. Wan finally received it. Her little fingers barely brushed the doll's dress, and her eyes curved like crescent moons, seeing her joy. Your inside was filled with mixed feelings, especially when you saw her thin little face up close and her worn-out clothes, clearly far too small for her. Your heart felt a pain like needles. She was only 3 years old, nothing more. Meanwhile, in the master bedroom, Shen Zhaochu, hearing her daughter's clear laughter outside, was already crying her eyes out. Shortly after, Wan fell asleep, clutching the doll tightly. She looked at you for a moment, smiling sillily, and then ran back to the bedroom. But what you didn't know is that in a single night, your song had already gone crazy. At 10 o'clock that night, your video had reached 5th place on the trending list. At the same time, the door to the office of Lee Siyu, operations director of Douyin, was knocked on. A technician entered with a tablet drenched in sweat. Director, Lee, there is a special situation. A video has reached 5th place in just 2 hours. What's wrong, she said. Did another big influencer mess up? It's not a big influencer. It's a new account registered today, and the video hasn't received any promotion. It's just a song. Hearing this, Lee Siu instantly changed her expression. She opened the trending list and her surprise grew. It already rose to 4th place. Let me see what song it is. After listening to it, Lee Siu fell completely silent. It was the first time she had heard such a beautiful song. She opened your profile immediately and saw your name, Bufan. Then she ordered Liu Yun, promote this video right now. Make sure it reaches the top spot tomorrow. Liu Yun nodded hard, knowing she had made the right call. After she left, Lee Siu listened to your song once more. She tapped the table lightly with her fingers, then took her phone and sent you a private message. But you knew nothing about this. You got up at 5, washed up, and went out to exercise. This body was in worse shape than you imagined. You barely ran for a bit and were already out of breath. Running and walking in an hour, you managed to complete 5 kilometers. Arriving home at 7:30, just as you opened the door, you bumped into Shen Zhaochu, who had just washed her face. She had water droplets on the strands of her forehead. She was startled to see you and you froze for a moment, feeling a bit awkward. You asked, is Wan still sleeping? Go take care of her. I'll shower and then cook. Is there anything you want to eat? No. Do whatever you want. I'm going to see the little girl, she said and slipped away into the bedroom. You looked at the closed door. You could only shrug your shoulders with resignation. After showering, hunger attacked you ferociously, and the old alcohol addiction from before also began to surface. You could only cook while drinking hot water to calm yourself down. Just then, Wan got up carrying the little plush sheep you had gifted her in her arms. She peeked through the kitchen doorframe, looking at you. Turning around, you saw that weak little creature. Instantly, you flashed a smile. Wan, what do you want for breakfast? Dad will make it for you. Well, Wan tilted her little head and thought for a good while. Steamed egg? Wan loves steamed egg. All right then, steamed egg, you replied affectionately, reaching out your hand to stroke her head. But you feared scaring her, so you quietly withdrew it. Take it easy step by step. Wan is accepting you, and that filled you with hope. In a good mood, even the addiction and hunger seemed to disappear. You put breakfast on the table, and as always, turned to your small bedroom so the mother and daughter could eat first. But this time, more laughter and conversations could be heard outside. Lying on the bed, you picked up your phone, which you had on silent, to see the impact of the video. Who could have imagined that upon unlocking it, you would be shocked? Damn, how many notifications are these? You swallowed your saliva, entered the main page, and instantly the over 1 million followers on the screen almost blinded your eyes. With an excited heart, you proceeded to open the video. More than 2 million likes, close to 1 million comments. You could no longer contain your smile. It was a resounding success with just a single song. Moreover, the comments were unanimously good. Everyone was asking you to release new songs. The time came to check the earnings. You entered the dashboard. The number in the wallet made your mouth drop wide. Opened nothing less than 320,000 without any ads. Just from traffic, you made 320,000 in 1 day. And that was after sleeping. Finally, you breathed a sigh of relief. You have money now. Life will no longer have to be so tight. Remember that before you had barely over 1,000 in total and even bought vegetables carefully, quickly. You transferred the earnings to your bank card. When the two of them finished eating outside, you came out again, seeing that the food on the table was completely gone. You washed the dishes and, grabbing the phone, you left in a hurry. This old neighborhood where you live, you bought it because it was cheap at the time. She used to dream about moving to a better house. But unfortunately, the original you not only squandered the savings, but even sold Shen Zhaochu's phone to buy alcohol. Leaving the neighborhood, you went straight to the shopping mall, you remembered. Upon entering, you saw a phone store of a major national brand. A young shop assistant, seeing you, with her eyes shining, approached. Handsome, do you want to buy a phone? You nodded and scanned the counter with your gaze. Take this one out for me to see. Handsome, good eye. This is the latest model, plus it supports satellite calls. Do you sell SIM cards? Here. Of course, handsome. Is it for personal use? You shook your head. No, it's for my wife. The shop assistant was instantly stunned, with a look of certain disappointment, surely thinking, the good men always belong to others. But she didn't stop. The handsome guy's wife is lucky, but for the SIM card, The person must come with their ID, right? You didn't know that to buy a SIM? Card identification is also required. Then please just pack the phone. You paid and left quickly. You still had many things to buy. You couldn't waste any more time. Meanwhile, right after you left the house, Shen Zhaochu cleaned the house from top to bottom, sitting on the sofa looking out the window. The house no longer smelled of alcohol. The fresh air felt incredibly pleasant to her. Seeing Wan Wan playing happily, Shen Zhaochu flashed an involuntary smile. How good this life is, she thought. However, in the very next second, the sound of the lock turning suddenly pulled her out of her thoughts. Wan Wan also got up fast and threw herself into Shen Zhaochu's arms, clutching her plush toy. But unexpectedly, a sound of footsteps was heard outside. Mixed with your familiar voice, they looked toward the door, and in the next moment, you and the voice of an unknown man appeared. In their field of vision, they were carrying a cloud-shaped, cream-colored sofa inside. You saw that Shen Zhaochu's eyes clearly lit up, with joy on her face. Hey, could you pour some glasses of hot water? Let the workers rest for a bit. Shen Zhaochu, who hasn't had contact with strangers for a long time, is a bit bewildered. Okay, I'm going to pour it now. The smile on your face grows wider. Even though you are sweating buckets, you are very clean. Then you and the workers bring in the new sofa and take out the old one. Then the television, the refrigerator, and the plants. With the arrival of each new piece of furniture, the house suddenly changed, completely renovated. The old discarded furniture, you finally sold it all for 800 yuan. Shen Zhaochu felt a bit of pain in her heart, seeing it. Even though that furniture was old, it could still be used. 800 was way too cheap. But what intrigues her most right now is, where did you get so much money? According to her calculations, the family should be on the verge of having nothing to eat. After saying goodbye to the workers, you return to the living room with a large bag, observing with satisfaction the result of your work. This sure feels like a home. You wipe away your sweat and leave the bag on the new coffee table. You plop yourself down on the soft sofa. Mother and daughter are still standing in the kitchen. Wan Wan hugs her mother's leg, like a curious baby looking left and right. Seeing the little one like this, your eyes narrow into slits, and you suddenly feel a great sense of achievement. Then from the bag, you pull out a big pink toy and put it on the table. But you keep your gaze fixed on Wan Wan. Sure enough, Wan Wan's gaze is attracted immediately. You reach out your hand and beckon to Wan Wan. Looking at her affectionately, Wan Wan, come quick. Look at what Dad has bought for you. Immediately you open the toy packaging. It's a princess house. The princess house is very messy, Wan. Wan, do you want to decorate the little princess's house with Dad? Wan Wan's eyes light up instantly. She moves her body a bit closer until she reaches your side. You smile tenderly. You take the little princess from the house and say in a sweet voice, the little princess is not dressed up yet. Dad doesn't know how to dress the little princess, so I'll leave it to Wan Wan. As you say this, you place the little princess in front of her. Wan Wan blinks, her big eyes raises her little hand cautiously until she touches the little princess in your hand. You always maintain your smile. You put the little princess in her hand, and your large hand holds her little hand. The moment you hold her soft little hand, your mouth curves upward, and you take a long pink dress to dress the little princess. We'll leave it to Wan Wan. Wan Wan, can you teach Dad? Wan Wan feels the warmth of your palm, looks at the little princess, looks at you with a pleading face, and suddenly laughs. Dad is very clumsy, Wan. Wan will teach Dad. The little one laughs, showing her small white teeth. She leans against your leg and with clumsy movements puts the dress on the little princess. You also laugh with her, humbly accepting the little one's teachings, learning how to dress the little princess. At this moment, this not very large room suddenly becomes incredibly bright, and Shen Zhaochu is leaning against the doorframe, silently watching this beautiful scene. Her eyes slowly grow moist, but you two, father and daughter, do not play for long. Lifting your head, you glance at Shen Zhaochu absent-mindedly. The faded light blue shirt she is wearing right now is unusually striking. Suddenly, you narrow your eyes. A thought crosses your mind. This is a family outfit. It was when Wan Wan turned 2 years old. Shen Zhaochu bought it behind your back, and because of those clothes, she received a beating and her phone was sold. Remembering that scene, you fall silent instantly. In the very next second, you stand up unsteadily. You cover your mouth and run to the bathroom to vomit violently. Now you realize how disgusting and infuriating it can be when a person with a conscience reviews that behavior from a first-person perspective. This sudden change scares the mother and daughter outside immensely. Both. Shen Zhaochu trembles with fear, runs quickly to the sofa, and hugs Wan Wan tightly. Wan Wan presses against her mother's chest, fearing that the dad who vomited will go back to how he was before, and suddenly come out to hit and scold them. After a while, you come out of the bathroom, looking like a mess with bloodshot eyes. Upon seeing the frightened Shen Zhaochu and Wan Wan, you feel even worse, with your stomach turning over and over nonstop. But still enduring the nausea, you say weakly, I'm sorry. I scared you guys, it's just that I don't feel well, thinking that you are occupying the body of this demon. You feel as if thousands of ants are crawling all over your body. Seeing that their gazes are still alert, you sigh deeply and head silently to the kitchen. Wan Wan probably still hasn't played enough. Take her to play for a bit longer, I'll make lunch. Shen Zhaochu carefully observes your profile. So familiar and yet so strange, she finally nods, and sits on the sofa with Wan Wan in her arms. Wan Wan pokes her head out secretly. And upon discovering that he is still that affectionate dad, the smile finally returned to her little face. Until lunch was ready and the aroma of the food wafted through the living room, but Shen Jiaochu saw you serve the food on the table and then silently go back to the side room. Her lips moved, but she couldn't say a word. During the meal, Wan Wan held the small spoon in her mouth and suddenly frowning, asked Mommy, why isn't Dad eating with us, Shen? Jiaochu was slowly stirring a piece of stir-fried meat, her favorite dish, because you can't eat spicy food, and she hadn't eaten it for a long time. Hearing her daughter's question, she unconsciously looked toward the side room, then looked back and suddenly smiled. A smile that bloomed like a spring flower. It's because Dad and Mom haven't made up yet. The little one didn't understand and frowned even more. Meanwhile, in the bedroom you were dazed, comforting yourself that it wasn't your fault. But you still couldn't change the fact that she was you. With no other choice, you could only pull out your phone and scroll through videos to distract yourself. Your video was still at the very top of the trending charts and the comments were urging you to release a new song. Just then, the sound of washing dishes came from outside. You put down your phone and went out. On the table, food was still waiting for you. Shen Jiaochu was washing dishes in the kitchen while Wan Wan played with her new toy on the sofa. Seeing you come out, Wan Wan was no longer as afraid as before. You smiled, walked over, and stroked her little head. Then you looked toward the kitchen. Shen Jiaochu had just come out of the kitchen and saw you staring at her. Fixedly, immediately she grew nervous, twisting helplessly the hem of her clothes with her hands. Seeing her so submissive and downcast, you couldn't help but frown and sigh to yourself. Precisely because of her very docile and introverted temperament, the previous you felt so completely unpunished for mistreating her. Thinking about that, your slightly furrowed brows relaxed instantly. Then you picked up from the coffee table the phone you had just bought and placed it on the table. Looking at Shen Jiaochu with a soft tone, I bought you a phone. See if you like it. Also, there are some things I want to discuss with you. You can sit here. Shen Jiaochu, who had been keeping her head down, suddenly raised her gaze upon hearing your words and looked at you. The first thing she encountered was your clear and clean eyes. Right after that, she saw the new phone box on the table again. Shen Jiaochu hesitated for a moment, and after a split second let out a soft and slowly approached the sofa to sit down. Is there something you want to discuss? Her voice was very low. You had to tilt your ear to hear her, but you didn't answer. Instead, you took the phone box from the table, opened it on your own, and pulled out the new light blue phone. You set it up quickly and handed it over to Shen Jiaochu. This phone is for you. You need to get the SIM card yourself. I already saved my number. If I'm not home in the future, you can call me if anything happens. As you said that you pulled from your pocket a wad of bills and placed it in front of her. This is cash that I just withdrew this afternoon. If you have nothing to do, take the little girl out for a walk. It's not good to always be cooped up at home. Buy whatever you want, especially clothes. Look, the clothes on both of you are too small for you. And also open a bank account. Carrying cash around isn't safe. You rambled on, blurting out everything on your mind all at once. However, Shen Jiaochu just raised her head, staring at you fixedly, listening to your murmurs. Her eyes slowly grew red. Seeing that she wasn't taking the phone, you could only rub your nose helplessly. You don't like this phone. I thought the color looked nice, and it was the newest model. So that's why I bought it. If you don't like it, you can buy another one you like. But Shen Jiaochu looked at you deeply. No, I like it quite a bit, thank you. Her voice was still, very low, with a lump in her throat and a slight tremble. At that moment, your gazes suddenly met, and you looked away uncomfortably. But inside, you felt relieved. I'm glad you like it. You're welcome. Well, I'm going to have dinner. Saying this, you stood up and walked quickly toward the table, and started eating with an appetite. Actually, Shen Jiaochu was still wondering where you got so much money. But she didn't ask. She just took the new phone from the table and observed it carefully. Beside her, Wan Wan also approached, looking with curiosity at the new thing in her mother's hands. Shen Jiaochu took the opportunity to stroke the little one's head, and the two of them, the big one and the little one, stared at the phone to study it. After eating, you sweated a lot. You wanted to shower, but mother and daughter stayed in the living room today, the whole time, which made you feel very embarrassed. Finally, a bit frustrated, you went back to the bedroom until 5 in the afternoon. Outside, the sky finally stopped being so hot. Shen Jiaochu was seen on the sofa hesitating for a moment, and then she took the money from the table. And right after that, she took Wan Wan and they left the house. Wan Wan hadn't gone out in a long time. She absolutely loved going out to play outside, but before her mom never took her, and her dad wouldn't allow them to go out. That's why this time she went out, she was especially happy. The little one carried a plush sheep in one hand, and with the other, she held onto her mom. She skipped and bounced along the way, and her big round eyes looked everywhere with curiosity. Everything she saw outside felt novel to her, but Shen Jiaochu felt a bit self-conscious. Her steps quickened without her realizing it, and seeing the people coming and going on the street, she felt a strange insecurity, mostly because of the clothes she and Wan Wan were wearing, which didn't fit them well, and that made her feel like other people's gazes lingered on them for a couple of seconds too long. The shopping mall wasn't far. She vaguely remembered that crossing 2 streets would bring her to it. The shopping mall had changed quite a bit compared to her memory. Only 2 years had passed. It seemed they had decorated it with more elegance. Right upon entering, she saw a phone store with a counter to get SIM cards. Shen Zhaochu hesitated for an instant, then took the girl and went in. There were quite a few people in the store. The employees were all very busy. Shen Zhaochu, who hadn't spoken to anyone in a long time, stood in the middle looking somewhat lost. Luckily, an employee saw her and approached voluntarily. First, she stroked Wan Wan's head, and then with a smile, said, "What a beautiful little girl. Miss, do you want to buy a mobile phone?" Hearing someone praise Wan Wan, the face of Shen Zhaochu lit up with a smile. "I want to get a SIM card. Is it possible now?" The employee kept smiling while talking and guided her to the counter. "Yes, this way, please. We have several plans for you to choose from. But may I ask what brand your mobile phone is? If it's the same brand as ours, getting the SIM card comes with a discount." Hearing discount, Shen Zhaochu's eyes lit up. Quickly, she took the phone out of her pocket and put it in front of the employee, asking in a low voice, "Does this one work? I think it's your brand and I bought it this morning." The employee was surprised for a moment. She looked at Shen Zhaochu carefully again. Not many of the newest model had been sold today, and she just came to get a SIM card. The employee naturally remembered the customer from the morning. "So this mother and daughter are the wife and daughter of that handsome guy from this morning. But why are the two of them so thin? And the clothes clearly don't fit them. That guy doesn't look like someone who would mistreat his wife and daughter." The employee couldn't understand it, but she didn't ask further. Still smiling, she exclaimed, "Ah, so the handsome guy who came this morning to buy the phone is your husband. How lucky you are. This is the newest model we have. With this phone, you can choose this plan, top up 100 and receive 100 plus 600 minutes of free calls." She continued to assist enthusiastically, but now the center of attention shifted from you to Shen Zhaochu. Shen Zhaochu, a bit dazed by what they were telling her, paid and got the card. Until she left the phone store, her mind still echoed with the warm words of the employee. "But he said he was a good man." Shen Zhaochu wanted to tell her, if he is such a good man, why don't you take him home? After buying the SIM card, Shen Zhaochu also opened a bank account and deposited all the money she had. Deducting the card fee, she had 4,900 left. You gave her exactly 5,000 this time. With the phone and the bank card, she left the bank. Looking at the tall buildings around her, she suddenly felt like she had come back to life. Now she could leave with her daughter. With that money, she could look for a job to support herself. And the little girl, she could even pursue her dreams again. Freedom. The sudden freedom left Shen Zhaochu standing thoughtfully for a good while, until a childish voice sounded by her ear, "Mommy Wan can have an ice cream." She turned instantly. Wan was still holding her hand, with her round eyes fixed on the ice cream shop next door, almost drooling. Shen Zhaochu smiled a radiant and bright smile. "You can, but only one or your little tummy will hurt. Wan loves mommy so much." This mother and daughter had finally gone out. You took a nice bath without knowing at all that perhaps Shen Zhaochu wouldn't come back. After the bath, you started preparing today's dinner normally. 2 meat dishes and 2 vegetable dishes with rice. But today, you thought about making noodle soup for the night. Since you didn't know when they would return, you didn't make it right away. You put the dishes on the table, cut the noodles, and left them on the board. Then you went back to the living room, you let yourself fall onto the sofa and picked up your phone to read about parenting. What to do if the child doesn't eat? Give them a beating. That's no good. Cross out, cross out. Wan is so good, how could she not eat? Besides, with how adorable she is, you wouldn't dare to touch a single hair on her until you started to feel sleepy from reading so much. You yawned and lifted your gaze to check the time in the top right corner. It was already 7 at night. Why hadn't this mother and daughter come back yet? You suddenly sat up. Could something have happened to this mother and her daughter? You got a bit nervous. You got up quickly, put on your shoes, and prepared to go out to look for them. But right upon opening the door, you bumped into them returning from outside. A gust of cold air entered through the door. You completely frozen in that moment. Shen Zhaochu was humming an unfamiliar tune. With light steps, the curve of her lips indicated that she was in a very good mood. She carried several bags in her hand, and Wan held the edge of her clothes with one hand. In her other hand, she was still holding the plush sheep you had gifted her. What left you most stunned was that both of them had already put on new clothes that fit them perfectly. Their 2 pairs of big, lively, and adorable eyes upon seeing you were also clearly surprised for an instant. In the next moment, Wan leaned sweetly against you, clearly calling you dad. After having gone out to play today and wearing new clothes, Wan was in an extremely cheerful mood. She entered the house first. "Dad, is it alright if I make you noodles today? With 2 eggs. Okay, yes, Wan likes eggs. Wan loves dad more." Shen Zhaochu outside the door was left bewildered in the wind. The little one had just said she loved mommy more, and in the blink of an eye, she had already switched sides. Wan didn't have to wait long. The egg noodles were prepared quickly. You placed the noodles in front of her, stroked her little nose, and out of habit, turned around to go to the bedroom. Just as you were turning, unexpectedly, the little one grabbed the edge of your clothes. "Dad, can you eat with Wan?" Her soft and doughy voice sounded again. Turned around and met the expectant gaze of Wan. You hesitated a bit and glanced sideways at Shen Zhaochu, who was sitting to one side. Shen Zhaochu didn't say anything, nor did she look at you as if she hadn't heard Wan Wan's words. She just kept eating her noodles completely naturally. You were left speechless. The situation was truly complicated. If you are going to kill me or torture me, just tell me once and for all. What does it mean to just stay quiet like this? You could only try to test the waters. Then I'll stay to have dinner with Wan Wan. Dad, sit next to Wan 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 replied to you, happily patting the chair on the other side. You touched your nose with an awkward expression. You went to the kitchen to fetch another bowl of noodles and sat down next to Wan Wan. Mommy on the left, Dad on the right, Wan Wan in the middle. For the first time, she found herself surrounded by her parents. The smile didn't fade from her face. She even ate with special energy, completely emptying her bowl of noodles. Finally, it was Shen Zhaochu who, fearing the little one would overeat, forbade her from eating more. And only then did the girl stop. But after dinner, Wan Wan's wish for Dad and Mom to play together with her vanished. In the end, only you accompanied Wan Wan to play, while Shen Zhaochu, after dinner, went alone into the master bedroom. You could understand it. Allowing you to sit at the table to eat had already been a great psychological effort on the part of Shen Zhaochu. You put yourself in her shoes and thought, if it were you after having suffered the previous treatment, trying to get along with your enemy, you surely couldn't do it. No, if it were you, the original you probably wouldn't even have a corpse left to find. He would have been directly torn apart and thrown to the dogs. You kept playing with Wan Wan until 9 at night. Wan Wan was already so sleepy that she kept nodding off, but even so, she didn't want to go to sleep. During that time, you also noticed a very serious problem. Wan Wan was already 3 years old, but she still didn't know how to take off her shoes by herself. To give you an idea, a normal child of 3 years old is already old enough to go to kindergarten. You knew this was due to the previously dysfunctional family environment, which couldn't be fixed immediately. But even so, you felt terribly distressed. It was then that Shen Zhaochu came out of the bedroom. Without saying a word, she stood silently looking at you and Wan Wan on the sofa. The message in her eyes was clear. You understood it instantly. You lifted Wan Wan from the sofa, gave her a kiss on her cheek, and with smiling eyes, you told her, Wan Wan, it's time to sleep. Tomorrow, Dad will play with you, okay? Wan Wan's eyes, which were almost closing, opened a bit. She looked at your face, then turned her head and looked at Shen Zhaochu and suddenly buried her little head in Dad's neck. Wan Wan wants to sleep with Dad tonight. The sudden statement left you bewildered and also caused the face of Shen Zhaochu to darken slightly. The worst part was that the air fell silent. You looked at Shen Zhaochu with an innocent face. This was the little one's idea. It wasn't that you prompted her. Shen Zhaochu clenched her fists secretly, this ungrateful little thing after she had taken care of her for so long. In just 2 days, she had already been corrupted by the enemy's sugar-coated bullets. In the end, the little one got her way. Shen Zhaochu cleaned her up quickly, and the girl happily tucked herself into Dad's bed. Wan Wan hugged your neck like a koala and didn't want to let go. You let her hug you like that. This is the first time you've put me to sleep. You remembered the parenting tips from the internet, and then you softly told her a bedtime story. Suddenly, Wan Wan, feeling incredibly satisfied, fell fast asleep. One morning, Wan Wan was still sleeping deeply. You, as always, got up early, opened the bedroom door stealthily, reached the living room, and prepared to go out for a run. In the next moment, as if you couldn't believe it, you rubbed your eyes. The ointment that was on the living room table had disappeared today. Your eyes lit up gradually, and a knowing smile formed on your face. Today, you left the house in a cheerful mood. Between running, showering, and cooking, it took you more than 2 hours. After preparing breakfast, today you had another task, waking up your daughter Wan. Wan was awakened by your soft voice. She rubbed her sleepy eyes. As soon as she saw you, an adorable and tender smile gradually spread across her face. The little one extended her 2 soft little arms as if asking for a hug from Dad. Immediately, you extended your hands to lift her gently. You put on the new clothes you bought yesterday, and then ran out to wash up. You had learned how to take care of kids from videos, but theory is still theory. Now that you were doing it, you realized how difficult it was. The little one's body was far too delicate. You didn't dare to apply force. So the whole process was clumsy and awkward. Especially when combing her hair, you felt powerless. After struggling for a good while, in the end, you only managed to make her a crooked bun. That is a big dummy, said Wan Wan upon seeing herself in the mirror with crooked hair, pouting her lips in a tease. You pinched her little nose, which made Wan Wan let out a giggle. And she also extended her little hand to pinch your nose. Shen Zhaochu came out of the bedroom and saw this warm scene between father and daughter. She didn't say anything. She just went silently into the kitchen to bring out breakfast. Perhaps she didn't even realize it herself, but her lips had already curved slightly without meaning to. After the 3 of them had a simple breakfast, you didn't give Wan Wan back to Shen Zhaochu. Instead, you took her to the sofa and played princesses. But this time, while playing, you instilled into her little head some very simple numbers, from 1 to 10. After discovering Wan Wan's problems, you secretly planned a scheme during daily play. Cultivate her autonomous learning, starting with simple numbers, and then with some basic life knowledge. You would teach Wan Wan little by little. Clearly, it wasn't something that would be achieved overnight. But luckily, Wan Wan was very smart. Before, no one had taught her these things. Now, under your casual guidance, she quickly remembered some knowledge. Furthermore, you noticed that since Shen Jiaochu returned yesterday, she seemed like another person, with a brightness she didn't have before. It was a good sign and made you feel much more relieved. Shen Jiaochu, while downloading platform applications and other programs, observed the interaction between father and daughter. At that moment, she also realized that you were teaching Wan Wan in a clever way. She watched it without flinching while a sweetness welled up in her heart. She had wanted to educate her daughter for a long time, but the previous family situation was very difficult. She didn't have the ability to teach her like a normal mother. Shen Jiaochu looked away and fixed it on the phone screen, as expected from a latest generation phone. Downloading apps was very fast. In just a few seconds, several apps were already downloaded. The instant Shen Jiaochu logged into her WeChat, unread messages popped up. They were from her former assistant, Chuchu, who had been with her for 2 years. On her WeChat, there were only a few people besides you. There were messages from Chuchu from her previous company. From the time she got married until 2 days ago, she had been sending messages non-stop, mostly asking about her situation, but she had never been able to reply. Seeing the series of messages, Shen Jiaochu felt a bit of warmth in her heart and replied immediately, "I'm sorry, Chuchu, I couldn't reply to you before. I'm fine now. Don't worry." 2 seconds after sending the message, the reply came instantly, "Sister Shen, you finally resurrected. I thought that after getting married, you wouldn't want to hear from me. Sister Shen, you don't know since you disappeared?" Rumors started circulating in the company, especially that annoying Liu Li, who has become unbearable these past 2 years. She speaks badly about you to everyone, saying that you deserve it. It's truly outrageous. Seeing Chuchu's message, Shen Jiaochu slightly pursed her lips. Liu Li was right. She really did deserve it. Before, in the company, she had always been above Liu Li. For Liu Li to act like this after she retired was understandable. "Chuchu, how have you been lately? Is everything going well?" Shen Jiaochu didn't reply to what Chuchu said, but instead asked about her situation. "I'm fine, Sister Shen, don't worry. I'm like a cockroach, the kind that can't be killed. I just miss you, Sister Shen." "Will you return to the stage, Shen?" Jiaochu was stunned and a longing appeared in her eyes. Would she return to the stage? She turned her head to look at you, then looked at Wan Wan. And after a moment, the longing in her eyes slowly faded away. "Probably not, but if you miss me, Chuchu, we can meet up to see each other sometime, right?" At that moment, in the building of Tianmei Entertainment in downtown Xiancheng, a girl about 1 meter 60 tall dropped the burden from her shoulders and excited, began to type frantically on her phone with both hands, but soon, a sharp female voice woke her from her joy. "Hey, Chuchu, are you slacking off? Hurry up and work. Do you still think you're the assistant of that popular singer from before? If you don't want to work, you'd better just leave." The owner of that voice was a woman with a fox-like face. Her face was turned up, and her long, thin eyes were full of disdain. "What are you looking at? Aren't you going to take the equipment to the recording studio? If you delay my recording, will you be able to make up for it?" Xiao Chuchu shot a glare at that woman, but still picked up the equipment from the floor and headed to the recording studio. "Okay, Sister Shen, I have this Saturday free. If you have time, get in touch." Shen Jiaochu looked at that message, and finally a smile formed on her face. She checked again, but there were no more messages. So she switched to Weibo. On Weibo, her last post was still from 2 years ago, the announcement of her retirement. Originally, she had hundreds of thousands of followers, now only a few thousand, and besides ghost accounts, there were still some old fans who used to leave comments worrying about her. She browsed through the trending topics on Weibo. They were all recent gossip, but among them, there were several talking about a song that had become very popular, "A Lifetime with You," a divine song by a mysterious singer. With just one video, in one night, she surpassed 1 million followers. Who is she? Deep analysis discovers a recent treasure song. Shen Jiaochu felt curious about what that very popular song was like, so she clicked on the title. The phone screen automatically jumped to a video interface. A familiar melody played, and the living room suddenly fell silent. Only the song echoed in the ears of the three of them. And you embarrassed turned your head, Wan Wan. With her big eyes blinking, threw herself into the arms of Shen Jiaochu while looking at the phone screen. Shen Jiaochu was completely stunned. That familiar voice, wasn't it the song that had come out of your room a few days ago? It turns out that day she was recording a video. It was Wan Wan who spoke first. She extended her little finger pointing at the phone screen and raised her head to look at Shen Jiaochu. "It's Dad. Dad is on the phone." "Yes, it's Dad," replied Shen Jiaochu, caressing the little one's head. Now she understood why you had so much money to change the furniture in the house. With millions of likes, how could you not have money? She turned her head to look at you, viewing your sharp-lined profile. With a complex and unreadable gaze, Wan Wan, upon getting her mother's answer, threw herself back into your arms with joy. Her short little hands held your face, her big eyes full of brightness. With a childish voice, Dad sings so sweetly, Wan. Wan also wants to sing the two. Soft little hands pressed against your face, your gaze softened. With your two big hands, you also held your daughter's little face, Wan. Wan also likes to sing, yes, Wan Wan, arched her big eyes and nodded her little head non-stop. Then happily, she gave a big kiss on your cheek. Upon receiving that reward, you lit up with joy. Under the little one's admiration-filled gaze, you ran quickly to the side room and brought out the guitar. You returned to the sofa, tuned the strings, and as you looked up, you saw Shen Jiaochu and Wan Wan staring at you without blinking. Unusually, you blushed a little, and then strummed the strings. Hello, today, Dad is going to create a children's song just for Wan Wan. Dad will sing it first so Wan Wan can hear it. And next time, Dad will sing a line and Wan Wan will repeat it, okay. Wan Wan nodded with joy, her little face full of expectation. This song is called The Outburst of Courage. Listen closely. Wan Wan, you said while strumming the strings gently, and a cheerful melody echoed in the room. Wan Wan had a surprisingly good sense of rhythm. She moved her head from side to side following the melody, and you, without realizing it, also moved to the rhythm along with the little one. Upon seeing this pair of father and daughter synchronize in their movements, Shen Jiaochu's gaze softened, and a smile stealthily appeared on her face. She also joined your rhythm. For the first time, the whole family was immersed in an ocean of joy. At that moment, even the living room was filled with light. Following the song, Wan Wan clenched her little fists and made a superhero gesture as if saying, let's go. At that moment, you put down the guitar and also made the gesture. Alongside the little one, then you extended a finger and gently touched the upturned nose of Wan Wan. Wan Wan threw herself into your arms, her short little hands tightly wrapping around your neck. Dad, Wan Wan loves this, Dad. Don't be like before again, okay? Wan Wan's soft voice sounded in your ear. You opened your mouth slightly, and your eyes filled with a watery mist. You hugged Wan Wan tightly, burying your face deeply into her clothes. Dad will never be like that again. Your voice came out hoarse but firm. Shen Jiaochu couldn't see your expression at that moment, but she was already crying her eyes out. However, a smile was drawn on her face. She knew those past days would never return, never again. You were the first to regain your composure. Put the guitar aside and sat Wan. Wan on your lap. Wan. Wan, now, we are going to learn a song. I will sing a line and you will repeat it with Dad, okay? Yeah, Okay, Wan Wan agreed very quickly. The time that followed turned into a teaching session between father and daughter. The entire morning, the living room echoed with the voices of the two singing. Seeing them so absorbed in learning the song, Shen Jiaochu prepared lunch in silence. Except her cooking wasn't as good as yours. So much so that during the meal, Wan Wan didn't stop saying that from now on. She only wanted to eat what Dad cooked. Shen Jiaochu jealously shot a glare at the little one and thought indignantly, little ungrateful thing. That family atmosphere made you feel very at ease, like a real family should be. Wan learned quickly. It only took her 3 days to sing the song, Outburst of Courage. Completely, under Wan Wan's insistence, it was adorable. While you were recording, you had a radiant smile on your face, with a proud expression that said, this is my daughter. Shen Jiaochu, who was watching from the side, saw your expression unexpectedly and almost choked with laughter. It was the first time she saw that you could have that appearance. In those 3 days, thanks to your good behavior, the relationship between Shen Jiaochu and you had improved a lot. At least now, she would speak to you on her own initiative. No one expected that the second video of the account, Bufan, would be a song. The song was still an original, just as beautiful. At the platform headquarters, Lu Jun discovered the video immediately. After watching it completely, without hesitation, he gave it the maximum promotion. Such a cute little one, such a beautiful song. Lu Jun was smiling like a proud aunt, with her mouth open from ear to ear. Then the platform trends exploded again. The storm from your single sound hadn't even ended. When the storm of Outburst of Courage had already arrived, this time, the popularity of the video hit even harder. In just one afternoon, the likes reached 5 million and the comments were incredibly numerous. This meant that by nightfall, you had to silence your phone again. Sitting on the sofa with Wan Wan in your arms, you dedicated yourself to reading the comments. Ceaselessly, the comment section was full of talented people you couldn't stop reading. If I had a daughter like that, I wouldn't allow any punk to get within miles of her. That was the comment with the most likes. One Saturday, you had just finished running in the morning, opening the front door while wiping your sweat. You saw Shen Jiaochu in a new spaghetti-strap nightgown coming out of the bathroom. Clearly, she had just showered. She was drying her hair and her cheeks were slightly flushed from the heat. You stared at each other and suddenly a verse came to your mind. Natural beauty without artifice. Like a lotus emerging from clear water. You started to blush, even though you had been married for more than 2 years. This feeling was like that of a young couple who had just started out. Good morning, Shen Jiaochu tried to calm herself and greeted you. Her steps toward the bedroom quickened without meaning to. You replied briefly and Shen Jiaochu said no more. She ran to the bedroom as if fleeing. You smiled with resignation, shaking your head to rid yourself of the wild thoughts. Humming a song, you entered the bathroom, showering, cooking, waking up Wan Wan, the daily 3-step routine. When you opened the bedroom door, Wan Wan was still sleeping deeply with her little mouth slightly open. She was lying on your big bed with her legs spread wide. After days of normal eating and sleeping, her face looked much more radiant. Although she was still thin, her state of mind had visibly improved. You sat on the edge of the bed to look at her for a while. You leaned over and gently pinched her nose. Wan Wan, wake up, time to eat. The little one on the bed pouted, opened her eyes slowly, and upon seeing you, the corners of her lips turned up uncontrollably. Then she stretched her little hand slowly and hugged your neck. Dad, she said with a tender and spoiled voice, these past 2 days, the little one had washed her face and teeth by herself, while you held her by her side, put on the toothpaste, and handed her the towel. Wanwan was very smart. You only taught her for 2 days, and she had already learned the skill. Shen Zhaochu also came out of the bedroom at that moment, with her long hair tied up in a high bun, forming a small top knot on the crown of her head. With that look, Shen Zhaochu made your eyes light up without being able to help it. You nodded to yourself. This is the vitality a 20-something-year-old should have, but she's still too thin. If she were a bit plumper, she would surely be prettier. Shen Zhaochu was still a bit nervous with her cheeks flushed. It was the first time she dressed up like this at home, and she didn't know if she looked good. She looked up and saw you taking care of Wanwan, and walked discreetly to the table to sit down. Just a moment ago, his eyes seemed to flash. So that means it does look good, right? Wait, why does his opinion matter? Shen, annoyed, puffed out her cheeks and absent-mindedly stirred the food in the bowl with her chopsticks. She was angry at herself for not being firmer. At that moment, you also sat down with Wanwan, already washed and ready. Wanwan sweetly called her mother, and then took her special spoon. She scooped the golden millet porridge in front of her and asked, can you go out with us today? Taking the spoon of the golden millet porridge in front of you. Can you go out with us today? You are enjoying the food with your head down. Upon suddenly hearing the words of Shen Zhaochu, you raise your head and look at her in bewilderment. Shen Zhaochu nods, without looking at you, but her earlobes are already red hot. Okay, you reply very willingly. On the way, you hail a taxi. Today, they are going to the Wanda Plaza in the city center. Shen Zhaochu and her former assistant Xiao Chuchu agreed to meet at a milk tea shop there. The reason they are taking you and Wanwan along is that Xiao Chuchu wants to see the little one. And lately, the little one has become your shadow. She won't separate from you, so you're just tagging along because of the little one. After 2 years, she can finally see Sister Shen again. Xiao Chuchu is very excited. She has bought several milk teas in advance and sits staring intently at the entrance of the shop. Xiao Chuchu worked with Shen Zhaochu for 1.5 years and they are like sisters. Shen Zhaochu was very good to her, but it's a pity that later Shen Zhaochu stayed with you. She doesn't understand why sister Shen had to be with that worthless man. She doesn't understand it, and she had already advised Shen Zhaochu at the time, but as if determined, she wouldn't listen to advice. While Xiao Chuchu wanders in her thoughts, she suddenly sees that familiar figure, holding a little skipping milk bun, entering through the door of the shop. Her eyes light up, and she stands up suddenly, waving her left hand. Sister Shen over here. Hearing the voice Shen, Zhaochu raises her head and sees the hand of Xiao Chuchu waving. A smile draws on her face. Chuchu hasn't changed at all. She's still so lively and cheerful. As they approach, in the eyes of both besides joy, there is a bit of daze. Meeting again after so much time, they cannot contain their emotions. Xiao Chuchu observes Shen Zhaochu closely, and her eyes turn even redder. She takes Shen Zhaochu's hand and purses her lips. Sister Shen, you've lost so much weight. Is that man not treating you well? Where is he? I'm going to teach him a lesson for you. Shen Zhaochu presses her lips together and sits next to Xiao Chuchu, placing Wanwan by her side. Before speaking, Chuchu, don't worry. Now he treats me well. And you, after I left, how is work going for you? I'm fine too, Sister Shen. You don't know how much I've missed you. They ask each other about their current situations, and after chatting for a while, Xiao Chuchu turns her gaze toward the little one. The little one had been quiet and obedient the whole time, but Xiao Chuchu had only focused on catching up with Shen Zhaochu without looking at her carefully. Now that she looks closely, her eyes light up immediately. She looks a lot like Shen Zhaochu, as if they were cast from the same mold, especially those big lively eyes. With just one look, anyone would grow fond of this little one. Sister Shen, this is Wan. Wan, she is so cute, says Xiao Chuchu as she stands up from her seat. She squats down in front of the little one, extends her hand and touches her little face. Then she frowns slightly. The little one is just as thin as Sister Shen. Xiao Chuchu now feels an immense rage. She is sure that that worthless man treats neither Shen Zhaochu nor the child well. The more she thinks, the angrier she gets. Now she wants to confront that man face to face. So she raises her head and looks at Shen Zhaochu. Sister Shen, didn't you say he would come too? Where is he? Shen Zhaochu can feel Xiao Chuchu's hostility toward you, but she doesn't know how to say it. She only forces a wry smile. Wanwan wants an ice cream. He went to queue up to buy one for the girl. Xiao Chuchu naturally notices the expression on Shen Zhaochu's face and gets even angrier inside. Her character has always been sweet and reserved, but now to that sweetness and reserve, a bit of timidity is added. She can feel it. Out of fear of scaring the child Xiao, Chuchu can only snort with disdain and return to her seat. Secretly, she gnashes her teeth, thinking about finishing you off. When Xiao Chuchu is about to speak, she suddenly stops. Her gaze becomes sharp as she looks toward the entrance of the shop. Shen Zhaochu is stunned. Her expression becomes even more awkward. She thinks you have arrived, causing Chuchu's hostility. Just as she is about to turn to look, a slightly shrill voice sounds behind her back. Xiao Chuchu, do you have free time to drink milk tea? Have you finished the work I assigned you? Liuli, haven't you had enough? Hello, today is a day off. Xiao Chuchu's face is gloomy like a bristling kitten. She stares fixedly at the person speaking. Shen. Xiao Chu turns around and recognizes the newcomer as Liu Li, formerly a popular starlet from the same company, who also followed the path of a talented singer. Isn't it Sister Shen's sister? Sheen isn't at home dedicating herself to her husband and child. What is she doing out looking for Chuchu? Liu Li has a smile in her eyes, but her words are full of sarcasm. Shen, Xiao Chu hasn't said anything yet. Xiao Chuchu by her side got angry first. Liu Li, mind your own business. Right now is not working hours. Don't come around with inside remarks. Sister Shen, let's go. There is a mad dog barking here. This will ruin our mood, said Xiao Chuchu and pulled Wan Wan. She took Shen Zhaochu's hand to leave, but Liu Li took a step and planted herself in front of them. She looked at Shen Zhaochu, gave a slight bounce, and laughed again. Oh, Sister Shen, why are you so thin? Are things going badly for you? If things are going badly for you, tell your sister I can still give you some handouts. Who says I don't have a good heart? Look now. Chuchu works for me as a runner and it's going quite well for her. Right, Chuchu. Xiao Chuchu's face was livid. She looked at Liu Li without saying a word. Shen Zhaochu turned her head suddenly and looked at Xiao Chuchu with eyes full of disbelief. She knew that being a runner was heavy work. How could the company do that to Chuchu? But clearly it was not the time to ask. Shen Zhaochu turned her head and her gaze toward Liu Li was also filled with fury. Just as she was about to speak Xiao, Chuchu stepped forward. My contract with the company ends at the end of the month. Then I will resign. I just hope someone doesn't climb so high only to fall harder. If Sister Shen returns to the stage, someone would wake up screaming in their dreams. Liu Li was stunned. She truly had certain negative memories of Shen Zhaochu. After all, Shen Zhaochu had surpassed her for a whole year and a half. Back then, who knew her? But Liu Li soon smiled with a contemptuous look. She observed Shen Zhaochu return to the stage. That is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Is there any company that dares to sign an artist? Expired, like you with a child. Speaking of the child, Shen Zhaochu, your daughter is quite pretty. You could consider raising her to be the new popular star. While saying this, Liu Li showed total contempt and without even thinking, she wanted to pinch Wan Wan's cheek. Get your dirty hand off her if you dare touch her. I'll make sure you have nowhere to cry. With a fierce gaze, you quickly walked in front of Shen Zhaochu. You handed the ice cream to the three of them. And then facing Liu Li, you protected Shen Zhaochu and Wan. Wan behind you. Liu Li was startled and instinctively stepped back 2 paces. It seemed your angry expression carried a powerful, imposing presence. But she recovered, and upon observing you closely, she suddenly let out a laugh. Oh, so you're this pretty boy. A worthless nobody, and here I was wondering who it was. Turns out it's you. What's the matter? Want to hit someone in public too? You frowned. You looked back at Shen Zhaochu with an inquiring gaze, clearly asking her who this shrew was. She is a singer from my old company. I didn't expect to run into her here. Your angry look might not scare others, but Shen Zhaochu is indeed a bit afraid. Seeing you look at her, she slightly lowered her head. Seeing Shen Zhaochu like this, you frowned even deeper. You sighed inwardly and didn't question her further. You turned your head and looking down at Liu Li. This a singer? Sorry, I've never heard of you, nor do I know you. I just know that a good dog doesn't block the way. Please let us pass. You said it with complete seriousness. Hearing this, Liu Li's voice became even shriller. As a person, you should know your place. Do you think I don't know? You spend your days flattering Ye Tian and Chen, Suai from that trendy boy band, constantly inviting them out for drinks. And now you come here acting like a big shot. You thought carefully about those 2 names, and finally remembered who they were. They were members of the boy band to which the original owner belonged. After retiring, the owner wanted to re-debut, so he actually invited them for drinks and flattered them, but they didn't even pay attention to him. I don't know those 2 you mentioned well. If you keep bothering us, don't blame me for calling security. Liu Li glared at you, but obediently stepped aside. You took Shen Zhaochu behind you and signaled Xiao Chuchu to follow you, walking straight out. But as you passed by Liu Li, she suddenly addressed Shen Zhaochu. Oh, what a pity. Someone can't sing anymore. Shen Zhaochu, my new song comes out at the end of this month. Having said this, Liu Li laughed gleefully. How is Shen Zhaochu going to compare with me? Liu Li's sharp voice echoed in everyone's ears. Xiao Chuchu wished at that moment to slap her. She knew well that Sister Shen loved to sing, and now she couldn't do it. Saying that was like rubbing salt in the wound. Your steps also paused for an instant, and you looked deeply at Liu Li. Then, without expression, you continued walking outside. Shen Zhaochu said nothing. However, at that moment, a childish voice suddenly rang out clear and firm. Mom sings better than you, bad auntie. Everyone was stunned. No one expected the little one to speak up in defense of her mother at that moment. You were only stunned for a second. Then smiling, you caressed the little one's head, thinking to yourself, how incredible is my daughter? No doubt about it. You still had some anger, but the moment Wan spoke, your anger completely vanished. Without paying attention to Liu Li's reaction, the group of you left that troublesome place and arrived at a restaurant. Shen Zhaochu and Xiao Chuchu were chatting. Earlier, while they were walking, there were things that worried her, but she didn't dare to ask. Now finally seated, with no one else around, she took Xiao Chuchu's hand. Finally, she asked the question she always wanted to ask. Chuchu and Sister Yoon, what is she doing now? Sister Yoon was Shen Zhaochu's former manager. She is almost 40 years old, but she was always very good to her. Upon hearing Shen Zhaochu's question, Xiao Chuchu could not hide her sadness. After you left, Sister Yoon was fired shortly after. She looked for a job for a long time without finding anything. Then her mother got sick and was hospitalized, and she had to take care of her in the hospital all the time. So she only found a job as a nanny. Shen Zhaochu didn't expect that Sister Yoon would have fallen so low. Shen Zhaochu felt dazed. She could still vaguely see the image of Sister Yoon working with efficiency and decisiveness. Both of them fell into silence. Shen Zhaochu bit her lip. She knew it was all her fault. If it weren't for her stubbornness, Sister Yoon wouldn't be like this. She had disobeyed this company's orders many times for her sake. When she had a promising future, the company said nothing, but then she just left. It was easy to imagine what kind of treatment Sister Yoon would receive. The atmosphere was tense. After eating hastily, Xiao Chuchu spoke a bit more with Shen Zhaochu and then left in a hurry. Shen Zhaochu's spirits remained very low. Originally, the three of them had planned to take Wan to the amusement park in the afternoon, but now she was in no mood to have fun. And you of course could feel her mood. You wanted to say something, but in the end you didn't. In reality, you didn't understand either why. Shen Zhaochu back then seemed to be under a spell, wanting to marry you. The original owner didn't know, and you even less. Shen Zhaochu wanted to go home. She wanted to be alone. But when she saw Wan's expectant gaze, she felt she couldn't be cruel so as not to disappoint Wan. In the end, the three went to the amusement park. The little one was very happy. It was the first time she went to an amusement park. She took your hand and wanted to run inside. Shen Zhaochu also made an effort to cheer up. She didn't want that in the future when Wan remembered her first visit to the park. She would be sad. The family first rode on the carousel and then tried several attractions. The sky grew dark without them realizing it, and the park lit up with colorful lights. The last attraction was the Ferris wheel. When you opened the door and entered with Wan in your arms next to Shen Zhaochu, the little one was already sleeping, deeply on your chest. The Ferris wheel rose slowly. The buildings, with colorful lights on the ground, became smaller. But what you didn't know was that for Shen Zhaochu, it was also her first time going to an amusement park, and her first time riding a Ferris wheel. Her almond eyes looked with curiosity outside the carriage. Her eyes sparkled. She looked out the window. You looked at her. Perhaps she felt your gaze. Her earlobes flushed, and she shot you a coquette glance. It was the first time you saw that look. You found it overwhelming. The light from the Ferris wheel itself illuminated her thin face. Suddenly, you felt dazed. The Ferris wheel kept rising, slowly. At the next moment, from several places inside the castle, almost instantly, they launched fireworks into the sky. The moment the fireworks exploded, you clearly saw a faint smile on Shen Zhaochu's face. It was a sincere smile. You were left stunned. The Ferris wheel also slowly reached the highest point. The fireworks looked clearer. Shen Zhaochu's smile was also more ethereal. You don't have to be afraid like before anymore. Your voice was low amidst the sound of the fireworks. Shen Zhaochu didn't hear it well. She turned her face to look at you with an inquiring expression. You didn't look at her. You continued contemplating the bright lights in the sky. You said in a low voice, "You are too kind, that's not good. They can hurt you, you don't have to be afraid like before anymore. I know you want to sing, and I know you have many things you want to do. Go ahead peacefully. Wan is in my care." Shen Zhaochu didn't reply. You turned your face and saw two crystal tears on her face. She pressed her lips together and stared at you without blinking. The intense sadness and complexity in her eyes seemed to want to drown you. Suddenly, you became nervous. Without understanding why, with everything being fine, she suddenly started to cry. "Who are you?" Shen Zhaochu was staring at you. Her almond eyes were misty. Her clear voice was not loud, but it echoed strongly in your heart. You remained in silence. In the air, silence. It seemed that even the sound of the fireworks had faded away. After a long while, you smiled at her tenderly and then spoke. With a voice suddenly a bit hoarse, "I am Lu Fan." Shen Zhaochu kept looking at you. "Let me tell you a cheesy story. Once upon a time, there was a girl in an orphanage, very shy, but in the orphanage. There was always a brother 1 year older who protected her. One day a group of boys bullied her, and that brother stood in front of her, preventing her from receiving the slightest harm even though he ended up covered in wounds. In her eyes back then, that brother 1 year older was her whole world. But after that, the brother disappeared, until she grew up, saw that brother again, and fulfilled her wish to marry him. Hearing this, you were left speechless, and now you finally understood some things." Shen Zhaochu then said, she saw that brother again, and fulfilled her wish to marry him. Hearing it, you were left speechless. Now you finally understood some things. Shen Zhaochu raised her head with eyes full of tears. She looked so lonely and pitiful. She finally revealed the secret of her heart. No one understood her stubbornness. Everyone thought it wasn't worth it. Only she was convinced that it was. But the result was terrible. She also regretted it countless times until you appeared the one of now. She asked who he was. He said he was Lu Fan and that was enough. Suddenly you could understand the feelings of Shen Jiaochu. Seeing the tenderness and affection in your eyes, Shen Jiaochu could not contain herself anymore and threw herself directly into your arms. Competing with Wan Wan for a spot on your chest, sobbing in a low voice, Wan Wan woke up, with her eyes still blurry looking, confused as to why her mom was taking her place. The little one was only stunned for a moment and then happily placed one hand on dad and another on mom, giving two resounding kisses on their cheeks. Today was the most beautiful day for Wan Wan. You looked at the two beauties in your arms and couldn't help but smile. Life was taking a turn for the better. That was enough. But some plans needed changes. The fireworks were dying out. The Ferris wheel slowly descended to the ground. Shen Jiaochu walked ahead with Wan Wan in her arms and you followed behind. Seeing Shen Jiaochu move forward with a firm step, you touched your nose. Upon getting off the Ferris wheel, Shen Jiaochu separated from your arms and suddenly seemed to regain her usual cold attitude toward you. Shen Jiaochu was very nervous. Even her arms were stiff while holding Wan Wan. She felt that her earlobes and her cheeks were burning a bit. Just a moment ago, she had been in your arms for so long. And furthermore, she had nuzzled you like a little girl. How embarrassing. She surely thought that you were laughing at her in silence. Upon getting off the Ferris wheel, she had seen the hidden smile on your face. Thinking about it, Shen Jiaochu quickened her pace even more, as if she were in a power walking competition. You didn't know why this woman suddenly had so much energy. You almost had to run to keep up with her rhythm, until they came out of the entrance of the amusement park. Seeing that Shen Jiaochu showed no intention of stopping, you had to call her to stop. Hey, do you plan to walk all the way home? Let's take a taxi here. Shen Jiaochu finally stopped, but she stayed by the roadside without looking at you. She was even more convinced that you must be laughing at her. They arrived home. You carried Wan Wan to her room and tucked her in, and then you also quickly headed to your bedroom. As soon as you lay down on the bed, you fell into a deep sleep. In contrast to your placid sleep, Shen Jiaochu could not stop tossing and turning. Lying in bed, every time she closed her eyes, an involuntary replay began in her mind of today's scenes at the amusement park. A bit annoyed, Shen Jiaochu covered her face with the blanket, trying to force herself to sleep. But her eyelashes, which kept trembling, constantly betrayed how agitated her heart was at that moment. At 6 in the morning, you woke up punctually as always, completed the entire routine, running, showering, cooking, and waking up Wan Wan, but Shen Jiaochu didn't come out of the room. Seeing the closed door of the master bedroom, you scratched your head. It seems they really got home a bit late last night. She had slept until now and still wasn't getting up. You didn't think about calling her. You would just leave her breakfast. Then you washed the used dishes and cutlery and put them away. As you left the kitchen, Shen Jiaochu had already gotten up. With her face slightly flushed, she crossed the living room and went to the bathroom to wash up. Do you still want to keep singing? You asked, hearing your voice. Shen Jiaochu was left a bit stunned and didn't react for a good while. With the phone in your hand, leaning against the bathroom doorframe, you quietly waited for her answer. Moments later, her soft voice reached your ears, yes, just one word without further reply. In the heart of Shen Jiaochu, her current life was already the best she had had in these 2 years, a life unimaginable, and singing is a very distant dream just buried in her heart. You don't ask, you just nod and go back to the living room with the phone. You open the private messages in the background and search through your private messages. They have already exploded since you posted the first video. You had only skimmed through them and then didn't look at them. Now wanting to search through them is very difficult. But you keep scrolling through the screen in silence, filtering one by one with patience, until your eyes suddenly light up. Then you open one of those messages, and while reading the content, your fingers tap the screen. Without realizing it, or out of certain considerations, your initial intention upon posting the video was only to make money, to earn enough money, leave Wan Wan well settled on YouTube, and then successfully retire. But after what happened yesterday, you changed your mind. The content of this message is very simple. Hello, Mr. Bufan from Fangsing Entertainment. Join our team. With your musical talent, we will turn you into a top-tier superstar in the shortest time possible. At the end of the message is the contact number of Fangsing Entertainment. Fangsing Entertainment is one of the 3 giants in the entertainment industry in China. Without hesitation, you dial the contact number of Fangsing Entertainment and call. The phone rings only a few times before they answer. From the receiver comes a female voice. Hello, good day. Who is this? Hello, my account name is Bufan. I received an invitation message from your company. Can we talk now? At the headquarters in Shanghai, Li Sijia receives the call. She is left a bit stunned. She didn't expect that this creator named Bufan would actually call her, since several days have passed since she sent him the message, inviting him. She thought the other party would not enter the entertainment world. Hello, are you still there? Hearing nothing from the other side, you ask. Then Li Sijia suddenly reacts and an uncontrollable joy appears on her face. It must be said that these days, the most popular thing on the internet is undoubtedly this mysterious guy. Mr. Buffon, I am Lee Sijia, Deputy Director of the Human Resources and Administration Department of Fangsing Entertainment. Do you want to join us? Director Lee, I'm sorry, but for now, I have no intention of entering the entertainment world. However, I want to recommend a singer to you. Would your company be interested? Lee Sijia feels somewhat disappointed. She shakes her head with a bitter smile. The one she wanted was Buffon. Mr. Buffon, look, hello, I am only the Deputy Director. If you came with your fame, I could decide it on my own. But if it's someone else, don't worry. The person I recommend sings at an absolutely top-notch level, and furthermore, I will compose the songs for her. Mr. Buffon, I understand what you mean. I will have to consult with my superiors. All right then, I await your news. 5 hours later, they call you. Mr. Buffon, we have already discussed it. We can accept the person you recommend joining the company, but management thinks that for now, she only has 2 songs, and one of them is a children's song. Don't misunderstand. Both songs are very good, but management wants to see more of your ability as a composer. Is that all right? As expected. With only 2 songs, they don't trust his composing ability. Okay. His answer is simple and clear. Lee Sijia was quite nervous inside, but hearing Buffon accept so directly, she feels some relief. She has been running around all day for this. She trusts Buffon's talent, but management still has doubts. Finally, the company agrees to give Buffon a chance right now. China has posed a problem to several entertainment companies recently. Because of this problem, they have invited many lyricists and composers, but none have been up to par. All of them were rejected. If Buffon can solve this problem, the company will no longer doubt him. Mr. Buffon, can we talk about the details in person? I would need you to come over here to do the composition and lyrics live, Lee Sijia says with great sincerity. She also wants to see this mysterious guy, to see what he is really like. You think for a moment. At home, apart from taking care of the girl, you don't have much else to do, so you willingly accept. All right, when and where? In Shanghai, if possible. It would be best if you could come tomorrow. The sooner the better for you, and it will prove your value. Tomorrow afternoon then. After hanging up, you book a flight for 10 a.m. the following day. Shortly after, you fall fast asleep. When Shen Jiaochu returns from outside with Wan, she finds you asleep. Wan approaches the sofa and gently snuggles into your arms. In your dream, it only felt like a kitten was rubbing against your face, and you could barely breathe. You woke up suddenly with Wan's cheerful laughter ringing in your ears. You looked down and discovered it was your beloved daughter who had covered your nose with her soft little hands. Dad, time to eat, you smiled with complicity and felt that these days weren't bad at all. The aroma of food drifted from the dining room, making your stomach growl with hunger. Then the figure of Shen Jiaochu came out of the kitchen, holding 2 bowls of rice in her hands. She looked at him and said in a low voice, "Since I saw you weren't waking up, I prepared the food. It has good color, aroma, and flavor. Just looking at it makes me hungry." Upon hearing his praise, Shen Jiaochu smiled a little, nodded, and went back to the kitchen to bring another bowl of rice to the table. While the family was eating, added a piece of fried meat to Wan's bowl, and turning toward Shen Jiaochu, he said, "Tomorrow I have to go out. I don't know how many days I'll be away." Shen Jiaochu was sipping soup, and upon hearing him, she suddenly choked and couldn't stop coughing. He rushed to hand her a napkin with a worried expression. Shen Jiaochu took it, turned around, and wiped her mouth. Hearing that he was suddenly leaving, she did feel confused. She didn't know if she should ask him where he was going. Just a week ago, she wanted to run away from him, but now that she heard he was leaving, without knowing why, she felt a certain reluctance. It was Wan who asked, "Dad, where are you going?" He caressed her head. "Dad is going to look for a job for Mom." Then he looked at Shen Jiaochu. "Sorry for deciding for you without asking. I didn't tell you before because everything wasn't ready. Now a company has asked me to go negotiate. If we close the deal, you'll be able to return to the stage openly. Fangsing Entertainment should be a good choice. He wants her to be able to sing." Shen Jiaochu looked at him instinctively. He seemed very serious. They looked at each other, and Shen Jiaochu's trusting eyes filled with tears. Her eyelids turned slightly red, and her beautiful gaze suddenly became sweet as a water. This puzzled him a bit, so he lowered his head and kept eating his rice. Shen Jiaochu never imagined that the day would actually come when she could keep singing, and furthermore, that it was this man who would choose it for her. "Thank you, I love to sing so much," Shen Jiaochu spoke in a low voice, but her tone became increasingly firm. She loved to sing, and furthermore, he wanted Chuchu and Wan to have a better life and not suffer any more bullying. Since he had reunited with Shen Jiaochu, he hadn't stopped worrying about them. "Don't thank me. You like it, and that's enough." He raised his head and smiled sweetly. One morning, "Go back now. I calculate that at most I'll be away for 1 or 2 days. Don't worry," he called a taxi to go to the airport and turned to speak with Shen Jiaochu. She nodded with a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. Just a few days ago, she wished to run away from him, but in such a short time she felt regret over his departure. "I'm going to be away for only 2 days. Why does it feel like a goodbye forever?" He built up his courage, didn't look at her again, and got into the taxi. The car drove away, and the two figures in the rearview mirror became smaller and smaller. He closed his eyes, not knowing what sensation was overcoming him. 3 hours later, right after getting off the plane, he felt the heat of Modu City. Compared to Jiangchen, there were too many people there. Following the human tide, he moved with difficulty until reaching exit number 5, where he could finally breathe a little. Standing in front of the exit, he looked at the group of people holding signs, searching for his name. Before arriving, he had agreed on a time with Li Sijia, who would pick him up at the exit. There were too many people with signs. Many were fans, waiting for their idols, and it took a good while to find a tall woman, dressed in an office suit, holding a sign with the words Bufan. He approached quickly and waved his hand at her. "Hello, are you Li Sijia? I'm Bufan, and my real name is Lu Fan. Sorry to have made you wait." Li Sijia looked at the young man in front of her, and a spark of surprise flashed in her eyes, but she concealed it well. She knew he was young, but she didn't expect him to be so young, as if he had just graduated from college, and furthermore, with a perfect face to be a star. Li Sijia felt a certain pity. How wonderful it would be to sign him. "Hello, I'm Li Sijia. There are too many people here. I left the car in the underground parking lot. It's lunchtime. Let's find a place to talk calmly." You nod your head and walk alongside Li Sijia toward the exit. Li Sijia, as expected, was a veteran at work. While walking, she looked for conversation topics to chat with you. She thought that someone as young as you wouldn't know how to maintain a conversation. But upon interacting, she discovered that you could follow her topics and speak with fluency, nothing like other young people. At this, Li Sijia couldn't help but look at you with greater respect. Certainly, an excellent person is well received anywhere. You, of course, didn't know that. Li Sijia had highly valued you again. If you had known, it surely would have seemed absurd to you, because with your memories of 2 lifetimes adding up to more than 50 years. If you didn't have that emotional intelligence, you might as well hang yourself with a rope. Both got into the car. You looked through the window at the bustling scenery while Li Sijia introduced you to the local specialties. In a short time, they arrived at a typical restaurant. While waiting for the food, Li Sijia approached the serious topic. "I'll call you Mr. Lu, all right? I don't know who you are recommending to me this time. A rookie or a professional singer? Does Director Lee know who Shen Jiaochu is? She was a singer before, but then she retired. Now you could say she's making a comeback." When speaking of serious matters, your expression turned serious. Li Sijia frowned. She had heard the songs of Shen Jiaochu 2 years ago. She was a popular star with a really good vocal technique. But the reason for her frown was that Shen Jiaochu had been forced to retire due to the exposure of her romantic relationship, and her partner seemed to be a pretty boy without any achievements. That was hard to handle. Li Sijia pondered for a moment, tucked a strand of hair from her forehead behind her ear, and stared at you. "I know her. I don't know what relationship Mr. Lu has with her, but do you know why she retired before?" Looking Li Sijia in the eye, you said calmly, "Spouses. She is my wife." Even the experienced Li Sijia fell silent upon hearing your answer. "Spouses? Then he is that famous pretty boy. Are you joking, or did Shen Jiaochu divorce that guy and find someone else?" Seeing Li Sijia's expression, you guessed what she was thinking and smiled bitterly. "You guessed right, I am that guy." The one whose relationship was exposed and retired along with her. Li Sijia suddenly didn't know what to say. She had heard of Shen Jiaochu, but she didn't know who she was with before. Since you used to live off your looks in a boy band, she naturally hadn't paid any attention to you. Now she even doubted if those 2 songs had really been written by you. You didn't give her time to think further. Seeing her doubtful expression, you continued, "Is it very difficult for her to join your company? If it's really that complicated, I will look for another solution. Furthermore, my demand isn't just for her to join your company, but I expect that in your company, she will have the best resources and freedom, and that the contract won't be restrictive. In the end, it's all the matter of interest. I believe that with my help, Fangsing Entertainment will reach the next level. I still hope you will consider it seriously." You finished speaking all at once, and picked up your glass of water to drink calmly. Li Sijia had a grave expression, clearly in a tight spot. She said, "After all, we haven't collaborated before. Just with the 2 songs you've published, they don't hold that much value. I recognize Shen Jiaochu's vocal technique, but in the entertainment world, it's not just technique that matters. I'm sure you know that too. For her to make a comeback isn't difficult, but to have the best resources and contractual freedom, basically we have never signed anything like that. This matter needs us to discuss it thoroughly. It's no small matter," although Li Sijia didn't explicitly refuse, her words implied that it was practically impossible. "You can discuss it, and I'll also express my stance here. Not only for the problems you are facing this time in the future, if you need songs or even scripts, no matter the genre, as long as you ask, I can give them to you. I still hope we can collaborate successfully. This time you invited me to see my capability, right? Now that I've come, why don't you decide after seeing me perform?" You said calmly. With a confident attitude, Li Sijia looked at you deeply. A person so full of self-confidence, it was the first time she had ever seen someone like this. So this was the famous pretty boy. The world is just ignorant. Ultimately, Li Sijia left in a hurry after eating. She had to discuss it with the company. Before leaving, she gave you a room card. "Wait for my news," was the last thing she said as she left. You arrived at the hotel room, washed up briefly, and lay down on the bed to reflect. If Fangsing didn't work out, you would go to another company. If none of them worked out, worst case, you could just make more money and open your own company. Even if it meant more work, it would be so Shen Jiaochu could do whatever she wanted. You didn't realize that your mindset had subconsciously changed from just wanting to laze around at the beginning to now exerting effort for Shen Jiaochu in such a short time. You were thinking more and more about them and integrating yourself without realizing it into this little family. Li Sijia's call came at 3 in the afternoon. She was already downstairs, indicating that you needed to go with her to the Fangsing building. Without saying more, I went straight down to meet up with Li Sijia. The Fangsing Entertainment Company is located in the most prosperous area of Modu. The entire building is owned by Fangsing Entertainment. Right now, on the 18th floor of the Fangsing building, President Li Tian, the head of the Human Resources Department, Zhang Gao, and other managers of Fangsing Entertainment were present. Zhang Gao's face was very serious. "President, I have nothing to say about Deputy Director Li's working ability, but this time, I think she is giving way too much importance to this Lu fan. He used to be one of those has-beens with nothing to show for it, and now he poses such an absurd demand to us. I think we are wasting our time." Faced with Zhang Gao's complaints, Li Tian waved his hand with a gentle smile on his face. "We must give young people opportunities, right? First, let's see his talent this time. If it doesn't work out, I believe my daughter won't have much to say." Seeing the president's gentle demeanor, Zhang Gao could only hold back his anger, though inwardly criticizing him. "Isn't it just because she's your daughter that you show favoritism?" Li Tian saw Zhang Gao's troubled expression and smiled again. As the president of the company, of course he wouldn't just do whatever his daughter said. In reality, he had already listened to those 2 songs. They could only be described as perfect. But he didn't need to explain anything to Zhang Gao. As for whether those 2 songs were truly composed by him, whether it's a donkey or a horse will be seen when we take it out for a walk. At that moment, Li Sijia led you into the reception room. Ever since you entered, you saw many popular stars of this world. It certainly is one of the 3 giants. This level of luxury gives a sense of luxury and prestige. Upon entering the reception room, you felt that all eyes were turned toward you. Their eyes showed various expressions. You naturally sat down in the guest seat, just you facing a group with a calm expression. Li Tian couldn't help but feel a bit of admiration. Such a young guy could behave so naturally in front of such a serious matter. Good first impression. All right, since the person of interest has arrived, let's begin. Are you Mr. Lu? We have discussed your requirements in a meeting. We can sign the contract with Shen Jiaochu and give her top-tier resources, but the contract cannot be completely free. We really cannot give that. It's just not signed that way. Can you understand what I mean? You nodded, naturally understanding. Then for how long is the contract to be signed? Li Tian looked at you with a smile. 5 years. We will nurture her with the best resources and we won't limit what songs to release or what activities to participate in. You frowned, not fearing his gaze at all, and looked right back at him. 5 years is too long. I trust my ability, your resources plus my talent. In 1 year, she will be a superstar, perhaps not even a year. So the maximum I can accept is 2 years. The remaining year will be for your company to obtain sufficient profits. During these 2 years, you don't need to worry about Shen Jiaochu's songs. Furthermore, I can write songs for Fangsing for free, but in a limited quantity. Anyone can brag. Becoming a superstar in 1 year, you're dreaming. As soon as you finished speaking, you saw a bald man sitting next to Li Sijia, let out a mocking chuckle, looked at you with disdain, and spoke. You only cast a glance at him without paying him any attention. You directed your gaze toward Li Tian. Li Tian narrowed his eyes, lightly tapping the table with his fingers, as his smile became more evident. On another note, the recent national campaign issued by Huayin requires every company to participate, but only 1 song can be selected. I want to get it. I don't know if you have the capability for that. Ah, you nodded slightly. Wasn't I called here precisely for this campaign? Deputy Director, Lai will hand you the specific details of the campaign. Then I will await your good news. As long as your song is recognized, I'll be able to sign the contract immediately. Li Tian smiled softly and made the final decision. With everything agreed upon, you relaxed, stood up, and shook Li Tian's hand. Then you left the reception room with Li Sijia. Li Sijia sighed with emotion, not expecting her father to accept such absurd conditions. But this campaign was truly important. A campaign organized by the government. The company that got the selected song would naturally receive official favor. The benefits were evident. When Li Sijia looked at you, her gaze was somewhat complex. She really hoped that he could surprise everyone, which would mean that her judgment was correct. At that moment, the gossip within the company would vanish on its own. Look at this. These are the details of this campaign. You only have 3 days to create. I hope you get what you want, and I also hope we can collaborate successfully. Li Sijia pulled a folder out of the drawer, handed it to you, and spoke. You opened the folder, and the first thing you saw was a large title, Ordinary Hero. Seeing these large letters, your expression became serious immediately. You continued reading. In the office, a heavy silence reigned, only the sound of turning papers could be heard. Your expression was the most serious it had been since you traveled through time. You turned the papers, and underneath there were several photos. The first showed a group of doctors and nurses dressed in protective suits. The second was of 3 firefighters with a large extinguished fire behind them. The third was of several soldiers shown only from behind without being able to see their faces. The last one, after reviewing all the documents, you arranged them one by one, put them away, and took a deep breath. At that moment, Lee Sijia broke the office silence. How are you? Can you do it? You only have 3 days? The selection will end in 3 days. You nodded your head. Don't worry, leave it to me. In 3 days, I will give you a satisfactory answer. Having said this, you put away the files and stood up. Then so be it. Prepare some song drafts for me. I will study them calmly at the hotel. I'll accompany you. He didn't refuse. She knew it was difficult to create a good song in 3 days. At 9 p.m., you arrived early at the desk, spread the drafts across the table, picked up the pen and reflected in silence. You thought for a long time before making up your mind. That is just simplicity. The next day, after a light breakfast, without notifying Lee Sijia, you took a taxi alone straight to Fangsing Entertainment. Lee Sijia was still busy working in the office. Upon seeing you arrive, she was suddenly very surprised. You have time to come here. You only have 3 days, brother. Go think about the song you're writing. It's already finished. You smiled, and to Lee Sijia's utter surprise, you handed her the draft. Take a look first. Do you think this one can work? Lee Sijia looked at you as if you were a monster. The efficient and mature woman, showing an unusual loss of control. Is this a joke? What kind of good song can be written in one night? He isn't just winging it, right? Lee Sijia frowned and took the draft. Yesterday, she thought this young man was serene and talented. Today, he was coming to slap her in the face. She wanted to see what he had written in one night. Lee Sijia directed her gaze to the draft. Upon seeing the title of the song, she still maintained her composure, but next, when she finished reading the lyrics slowly, she was completely stunned. What kind of heavenly lyrics are these? Everywhere it speaks of simplicity, yet everywhere it radiates the extraordinary. In the entire text, it doesn't mention the word hero even once, yet every phrase is about a hero. These lyrics go straight to the point. Then Lee Sijia looked eagerly at the sheet music. After a moment, she raised her head and looked at you, her eyes shining. Did you really write this in one night? You touched your nose. If not, then what? Hey, I stayed up all night to do it. How well does this song work? Lee Sijia's eyes shone even more intensely. She stared at you. You are incredible. Without a doubt, my choice was right. Can you sing it for me? I want to hear how it sounds. You nodded. Closed your eyes. Took a moment to prepare your emotions, and then began to sing softly. Someday, perhaps I will go far away. Perhaps we can meet again. Upon finishing, Lee Sijia was still immersed in the song, unable to snap out of it until you coughed softly twice. Then she came back to her senses. She hurriedly wiped the tears from her face, her eyes shining even more intensely, so much so that you felt embarrassed. To look at her directly, you could only ask with uncertainty, "Is it okay?" "It's more than okay, young Lu. I never imagined you would give us such a huge surprise." The office door suddenly pushed open. "Hey, Dad?" Lee Sijia's father appeared before you in total astonishment. She couldn't believe it how much time has passed. You've already made a song, and such a perfect one at that. Dad, why do you walk in without knocking? Seeing who had arrived, Lee Sijia got a bit nervous. She stealthily wiped the tears from her face again and shouted at Li Tian with discontent. But Li Tian didn't show any regret. He kept on smiling, except his gaze toward his precious daughter was a bit strange. How long had it been since he last saw his daughter acting like a blushing young girl? "If I didn't come, how would I know that you've made such a great song?" You were left speechless. Switching directly from Mr. Lu to young Lu, you couldn't help but complain internally. He certainly is a businessman. Whoever brings him benefits is his family. You flatter me, President Lee. I'm glad you are satisfied, you said. Very satisfied. Hey, young Lu, now that we have the song, as soon as it's selected by Hua Yin, we will immediately sign the contract with Shen Jiaochu. Right now, first, I will sign a cooperation agreement with young Lu so that you won't have any worries, right? Li Tian nodded, smiling. Finally, you breathed a sigh of relief, knowing inside that this was almost a done deal. Everyone signed the cooperation agreement right then and there. As long as the song was selected, then the collaboration you had with Fangsing Entertainment would kick off immediately. Once signed, you said goodbye to Li Tian. Director Li, since the matter is settled, I'll take my leave. Good, I hope our cooperation is pleasant. You nod slightly, hold the cooperation agreement and turn around to leave the office. I'll walk you out. Just as you are about to leave, Lee Sijia suddenly says something. You notice that she barely dared to look at you. She seems to feel a bit embarrassed for having behaved earlier like a total fangirl, something very uncharacteristic of a mature woman. But now that you are leaving from her expression, you notice a sort of unexpected sadness. Don't I recall you still have pending work? Xiaolu is no longer a child. You don't need to escort him. Just when you turn your head to speak, Li Tian suddenly intervenes. At this, you can only smile gratefully at Li Sijia. Thank you for your kindness. Manager Li, I'll just take a taxi back. Having said this, you turn around and leave the office, gently closing the door. Then you walk away with steady steps. Meanwhile, Li Sijia in the office looks like an angry kitten. He just sent my brother off and you're already kicking him out. No way. Zhang Gao, who is still in the room, feels a chill upon seeing this. He gulps and says hurriedly, well, I have some pending matters, so I'll take my leave. Without waiting for him to say more, Zhang Gao bolts out and closes the door tightly. Only after stepping outside does he wipe the sweat from his forehead. Li Tian, seeing his daughter's attitude, doesn't get angry. He only says in a paternal tone, Sijia, you're no longer young. You should look for a partner. The guy is actually quite good. But don't forget, he has a wife. And from what I know, he also has a daughter. Li Sijia keeps silent for a moment and then replies coldly, of course I know that. I only walked him out because he was invited by you, simple as that. The mature woman regains her haughty air, her aura intimidating even her father, Li Tian. All right, as long as you have it clear. I suddenly remember I also have work to do. Having said this, Li Tian leaves quickly, but right as he steps out, he pokes his head back in again. Seriously, my dear daughter, you're already 26. You really should find a partner. Fine, okay, I won't press it. I'm leaving right now. You barely arrive at the hotel and haven't even picked a ticket yet when Li Sijia's phone rings. Mr. Lu? I'm sorry. My father wasn't very polite. I apologize on his behalf. Over the phone, Li Sijia apologizes, with a somewhat cold tone, as if she were still angry at someone. You are a bit surprised, but you don't really mind. Besides, Li Tian had already been quite diplomatic. As a capital tycoon, he had already been very considerate. As for whether he intended to get rid of you after using you, having seen all kinds of people. In the capital market, you already know it all too well. Don't worry, I didn't take it badly. You don't need to apologize. Hearing you say that the tone of Li Sijia softens a bit. I'm glad you don't mind. By the way, are you back at the hotel? I'm already at the hotel. I'm going to pack my things and book a flight back to Yangchen. On the other side, there is a silence. Then Li Sijia's voice sounds again. Mr. Lu, it's better if you wait a couple of days. If your lyrics are selected, probably Huayin will need your help since you composed the song. After all, you are the one who understands this song best. Hearing this, your plans to return home vanish. Suddenly, you feel an emptiness in your heart. Okay, I understand. Then I'll stay a few more days. Let me know when needed. You hang up the call with Li Sijia, put down the phone, and look out the window at the landscape passing by. Rapidly, you start to miss the little one at home. When thinking of Wan Wan without even realizing it, a smile forms on your face, as if there were a telepathic connection at that exact moment. Shen Zhaochu's phone rings, you answer, and from the other side comes Wan Wan's voice. Hello, Daddy? It's the little one. Even though you can't see her, your face lights up with a smile. You reply, yes, it's Daddy. Wan Wan misses Daddy. I miss Daddy. Mommy asked when you're coming back. At home at that moment, Wan Wan was holding the phone with both hands, snuggled in Shen Zhaochu's lap, and said sweetly. The cheeks of Shen Zhaochu blushed instantly, and she cast a helpless glance at the little one. Clearly, it was she who insisted on calling Daddy. Why was she dragging her into it now? She had never asked that. Then tell Mommy, Daddy will still take a few days to return. You smiled to yourself, thinking, surely the little one wanted you to come back but used Shen Zhaochu as an excuse. Hearing this, Wan Wan was clearly not happy, whimpering over the phone. The corner of your lips turned up slightly. You shifted to a more comfortable position, lying on the bed, and asked Wan Wan, have you eaten well today? Hearing this, Wan Wan raised her head to look at her mother. Then, like a thief, she lowered her head and said in a low voice, yes, but Wan Wan prefers Daddy's food. The little one's tone was very serious, so serious that even Shen Zhaochu, who was eavesdropping, laughed half angry and half amused. So small and already knows how to complain. Implying that my cooking isn't good. Hey, I didn't ask that. I know everything is fine at home. Hearing her excuse you replied with a laugh. Shen Zhaochu felt herself getting even angrier. You're holding back a laugh. Very well, you've only been away for one day. What could happen? Anyway, let's not talk anymore. I'm hanging up. I'm going to make lunch. Hey, you can't do that. I haven't talked enough with the little one yet. Goodbye? Shen Zhaochu didn't give you a chance and hung up directly. Her face was burning now. If they kept talking, she feared she would want to hit you. Seeing that Wan Wan was still looking at the phone with regret, Shen Zhaochu decided that at noon, she would prepare the vegetables that Wan Wan wanted least. That's right, children shouldn't be picky eaters. Hearing the beep from the receiver, despite the disappointment, you were still smiling. It was the first time you saw Shen Zhaochu with those little outbursts. Before, she always gave you a sense of oppression. How to put it? You used to call her a person without an independent soul. Now that situation was gradually improving. She was becoming herself again, and that was a good thing. The wait was long. In a few days, August would arrive, and you had already been in Modu for 2 days. During this time, you had spoken with Li Sijia several times, and your relationship was no longer so distant. At least now, Lee Sijia no longer called you sir every 2 seconds, which you had found uncomfortable. These 2 days, you kept waking up early to jog. Everything seemed peaceful, but there was still no news from the other side. There was nothing left to do but wait until the evening of the third day, when you received a call from an unknown, yet familiar number. Hello? Hello, is this Lu Fan? It's Chen Sen? Hearing this, you quickly went through the memories of the original host. He was the original host's best friend from college. Bro, it's been so long. Recalling Chen Sen's personality and character from the original host memory, you smiled as you spoke, having a sincere friend. Didn't seem like a bad thing. Lu Fan, what's up? Since you got married, you don't answer calls or reply to messages. Do you not consider me your brother anymore? On the other end of the line, Chen Sen's complaints could be heard, but the tone of hidden worry warmed your heart. It was all the original host's fault, who after getting married, only thought about sucking up to Chen Shua and Ye Tian, even neglecting his best friend. It was my fault before. You are magnanimous. So don't hold a grudge against me. Forgive me this time. When we meet up, I'll treat you to dinner and apologize, okay? While you were thinking, you cursed the original host again in your mind. The guy couldn't even distinguish between real friends and ghosts. What an embarrassment to the name Lu Fan. Haha, you said it. Then we'll talk when we meet. Bye. Having said this, Chen Sen hung up. Right after you hung up, Li Sijia called you. Your song was selected by Hua Yin. According to Li Sijia, the people over there took just one look and chose this song out of thousands of submissions. Li Sijia's voice trembled with excitement. When she called you, she was already in the hotel lobby. She said that Hua Yin planned to shoot a music video and needed the lyricist and composer to supervise on site. You went downstairs, and when Li Sijia saw you, she smoothed the loose hair on her forehead, her eyes shining brightly. You touched your nose, ignoring Li Sijia's gaze. Let's go, it's getting late. If we finish early, we can still make it by lunchtime. Without another word, you got into the back seat, as if you couldn't fit in the front passenger seat. The director in charge of the music video at Hua Yin called, and he couldn't stop praising you. How about it? Do you have any ideas for the music video and the lead singer? Don't go messing up over there. Li Sijia was clearly showing concern. You're young and have never been through something like this. Don't worry, I have it under control. Not a bit of nervousness could be seen on your face. Li Sijia looked at you through the rearview mirror and saw that you really weren't tense. They stopped talking about the matter, and 2 hours later, the car stopped in the parking lot in front of a grand building. The two of you entered the building together, shoulder to shoulder. It seemed that Li Sijia had arranged an appointment with someone beforehand. Right as you entered the building, a group of people instantly approached. Grandpa Lin, why did you come down personally? If my father finds out, he'll scold me to death. Li Sijia quickly walked over, took an old man's hand and said coquettishly. This action startled you. When an elegant older sister acts spoiled, not even the gods can resist. The old man showed a radiant smile full of affection. Girl, don't give me that. Would your father dare to scold you? He should be grateful if he doesn't get beaten up instead. Li Sijia blushed rarely and said with a very playful tone, all right, let's talk about serious business. So this is my young friend Lu. Truly, heroes emerge from the youth. He has a very good presence. Good morning, venerable elder. I appreciate the compliment. I am Lu Fan. You nodded politely to the old man. Good, talented, and polite. No wonder you could write this song. I am Lin. Zili, the director in charge of this music video. If you don't mind, you can call me Grandpa Lin just like Girl Lee, Grandpa Lin. Then I won't refuse the honor. You could only go with the flow, but even so, you nodded to those middle-aged people, and the elevator went straight up to the 20th floor. Right after stepping out of the elevator, Lin Zili took you to the recording studio. Young Lu, I've heard from Girl Lee that you sing very well. Could you sing it first? We have only received this song so far, and we haven't heard it yet, and the lead singer hasn't been decided. All right. You nodded and agreed. Young Lu, a new song or the piano? This song only needs piano accompaniment. Good. Let's talk business. Lin. Zili became noticeably more serious. She left you alone in the recording studio and took everyone else out. As the staff turned on the microphone, a group of middle-aged people also watched with anxious anticipation. You entered the recording studio, sat down, and began to prepare your emotions. After entering work mode, you became very serious. From the outside of the recording studio, your expression changed visibly. Lin, Zili nodded upon seeing this. This is a true musician. Inside, you began to play the piano, and a light prelude began to sound. The group outside held their breath instantly, listening to the piano, staring inside without blinking. Here or on the other shore, long journeys of separations and reunions, joys and sorrows of the world, worries scatter. After finishing the song, you took a deep breath and calmed your emotions. You stood up and walked out of the recording studio. The group outside was still looking at you in astonishment. The next moment, everyone couldn't help but applaud you. Lin Zili, even more excited, stepped forward and shook your hand with burning eyes. Hey, Young Lu, that's the feeling. I think we don't need to change the lead singer. You yourself, I have a feeling that this song will trigger a wave of attention on the internet, a storm of ordinary heroes. This is exactly the effect we want. Those heroes who contribute silently every day deserve to be heard. With such praise from the venerable elder, even you who have been through many battles couldn't help but blush a little, but you still shook your head and said to the elder with sincerity, Grandpa Lin, I won't be the lead singer. I have a better idea. Why not? Lin Sili frowned. Is there a better lead singer than this song? So. Better than this song. Seeing that Lin Sili clearly didn't agree, you stopped beating around the bush. You quickly laid out your idea. It's like this Grandpa Lin. I think this song is more suitable to be sung by children. On one hand, children's voices are clearer and more ethereal. On the other hand, having the flowers of the motherland sing to the unsung heroes is more touching. Hearing your explanation, Lin Sili couldn't help but open her eyes wide. My goodness, this guy is a genius. How did she not think of it? Children themselves have an endearing quality. If they sing, combined with the material we recorded, it will surely touch people's hearts great. No wonder she valued the young man. Now Lin Sili's eyes became even more eager, and even the middle-aged people behind her seemed suddenly enlightened, looking at you with disbelief. Among the thousands of materials, they selected these materials to match the duration of the song, but they simply couldn't decide on the lead singer. Unexpectedly, you solved it with a single phrase. Young Lu, you are a true genius. Would you be interested in working at Huayin? Don't worry, at Huayin, your talents won't be wasted. It shows Lin Sili appreciates your talent. She wants to have you by her side because she thinks someone like you is a waste being on the outside. No, Grandpa Lin. Hey, I'm just a lazy guy. To have been able to help you guys, this time I'm already more than satisfied. You shake your head, waving your hand repeatedly. Lin Sili is left speechless. Since when are lazy guys like this? However, she didn't press further. After all, you are already here and you can't run away. If such an opportunity arises in the future, I'll look for you. When you leave the Huayin building, it is already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Your head is spinning. When those guys start talking about work, they are incredibly active, absolute workaholics. In the end, it was Li Sijia who cooed playfully that she wanted to go grab lunch, and that's how the two managed to escape. For lunch, shouldn't you treat me to a meal? You're about to strike it rich with the Huayin collaboration. Li Sijia, unusually playful, poked her tongue out teasingly. This older sister is looking less and less like her usual self. You raise an eyebrow. You come from a massive family fortune, yet you have the nerve to ask me, an ordinary citizen, stingy. Li Sijia gave you a look of disdain and got into the car in a huff. You smiled and quickly followed her. The more you interact with this older sister, the more you realize how good she actually is. It's nothing like the oppressive feeling she gave off at the beginning. A classic case of a cold exterior but a warm heart. In the end, you couldn't avoid that meal, and Li Sijia enjoyed a grand banquet at your expense. After eating, Li Sijia drove you to the company, thanking entertainment, but she didn't seem very happy. She looked gloomy even though she had just feasted. You really don't understand women. They are just too difficult to figure out. They took the elevator straight to Li Tian's office, who had already been waiting for them for a while. The contract was already laid out on the table. With his eternal smile, he looked at you as you walked in and said, Young Lu, it's a pleasure to collaborate. Here is the contract. Take a look to see if anything needs to be added. You nodded, sat down in front of the desk, and began to read the contract. The contract is very formal, done in triplicate, and will take effect as soon as Shen Jiaochu signs it. The content of the contract is the same as agreed upon. Fangsing Entertainment will give Shen Jiaochu the best resources and maximum freedom. In a word, Shen Jiaochu can do whatever she wants, and no one can force her. And that is exactly what you wanted to see. The contract term is 2 years, and renewal will depend entirely on the will of Shen Jiaochu. You finished reading the contract, put it away, stood up, and shook Li Tian's hand. Thank you. President Li, a pleasure to collaborate. Offering a contract like this greatly improves my impression of Li Tian. At least he isn't like those unscrupulous capitalists who set traps in every clause. You're welcome. I value your talent and you value our company's resources. It's just mutual benefit. Besides, you promised to write songs for our company. I won't make a separate contract for that. I trust your integrity, Young Lu. Li Tian also stood up and shook your hand as he spoke. Of course I won't refuse, but I also made my stance clear. Don't worry. Though I do have one condition. I will only write title tracks, and I will decide who I write for based on my own will. Don't just have any random person come to ask me for songs. You have character and the talent to back it up. Li Tian likes you more and more. With Young Lu's talent, if it weren't because the company's main artists are short on songs, I wouldn't have asked this of you. After all, he knows that in the future, with your fame, everything you write will be of top-tier quality, and ordinary people won't have the right to it. The cooperation agreement was sealed. Then Li Tian changed the subject. Now that you have the contract, when do you plan to return Young Lu? You didn't know what he meant by that question. But you answered immediately, I plan to go to the hotel now to pack my things, book a flight, and leave right away. After all, I'm no longer needed here. President Lee, is there anything else I should know? No, 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 then I wish you a safe trip back. Li Tian smiled hurriedly, but that smile in your eyes seemed a bit too cheerful upon hearing that you were leaving. Without overthinking it, you said your goodbyes and left. Li Sijia accompanied you to the hotel door but didn't come in. Ever since they entered Fang Xing Entertainment, her mood seemed down. Out on the street, no, no, I won't accompany you to the airport. Go by yourself. I have something to do, I'm leaving. You turned your head, waved your hand, and said, take care on the road. Then you turned and entered the hotel. Li Sijia looked at your back and felt a strange discomfort. She stepped on the gas and left. Finally, I can go home. How I miss my little girl. You packed your luggage quickly, booked the flight, checked out of the room, and took a taxi. All at once. At 6 in the evening, your hands full of gifts, you walked with a light step into the familiar old neighborhood until you pushed open the door you hadn't opened in a long time. The living room was in silence. Shen Jiaochu and Wan didn't seem to be home. Not seeing the people you wanted to see right away, you feel a slight disappointment in your heart. But the next moment, the front door suddenly opens. Shen Jiaochu, rubbing her sleepy eyes, walked out quietly. As soon as she saw you, she suddenly became joyful, involuntarily opening her eyes wide to look at you. She was wearing a spaghetti-strap nightgown, with one of the straps fallen over her arm, her hair disheveled from sleep, and her mouth slightly open. She looked like a true sleeping beauty right before your eyes. Both froze, and under the glow of the sunset, they looked at each other in silence. Then your face began to light up, with a radiant smile. You opened your mouth, I've returned. Shen Jiaochu's face slowly blushed, and she stood still, not knowing what to do, with her heart somewhat fluttering, but also with a small wave of sweetness. She lowered her head and replied in a low voice while, without thinking, she pulled up the strap that had discreetly fallen off her shoulder. Ah, this is for you. From behind your back, you suddenly pulled out a bouquet of lavender. On the way home, I ran into someone selling it. It smelled very nice, so I bought it. Shen Jiaochu bit her lips, walked over and gently took the bouquet of lavender from your hands, her face already covered in a blush. It was the first flower you had ever given her. Lavender, its floral meaning is hope. She liked it very much. Thank you, Shen Jiaochu said, gathering her courage. She raised her head to look directly into your eyes, her eyelashes fluttering slightly. Have you had dinner yet? You suddenly smiled. Not yet. Surely you guys haven't either, right? I'll cook dinner. Go wake up Wan. Shen Jiaochu's intention was to do it herself, thinking that you had just arrived and must be tired. But seeing the determination in your eyes, and remembering that you cooked much better than her in the end, she nodded. I'm going to wake up Wan, knowing that your back will make her very happy. She's been asking about you for 2 days. Saying this, Shen Jiaochu turned around and went into the master bedroom. This time, she didn't close the door but left it open. You looked inside. Wan lay on the bed, arms and legs spread out, sleeping soundly. Shen Jiaochu picked her up carefully, and the little one didn't even react, until Shen Jiaochu brought her before you, kissed her little face and whispered next to her ear, Wan, wake up. Daddy is back, Wan, then stirred, slowly opening her adorable sleepy eyes. She looked around in confusion, and suddenly her eyes lit up. She reached her little arms out toward you, waving them. It's Daddy. Daddy, hug Wan. Wan has missed you so much, the little one. Like a koala, clung to your neck when you hugged her, not wanting to let go and stayed hanging on to you. Even when you went to the kitchen to cook, she didn't want to let go. Finally, Shen Jiaochu put on a serious face, and using the new toy you had bought her as a lure, she managed to detach her and put her on the sofa. Wan played with the toy, but from time to time she looked toward the kitchen with her big eyes, as if fearing your figure would disappear again. After a short while of bustling, the food was on the table, and the family sat happily before it. Shen Jiaochu looked down. Wan had already picked up her chopsticks and was slurping eagerly. In an instant, a noodle disappeared into her mouth, and her eyes turned into 2 crescent moons. It seemed as if Shen Jiaochu had starved her. For days, Shen Jiaochu felt both angry and helpless. I can't compete, I give up. What else could she say? This made Shen Jiaochu speed up her own eating. Why is it that when it was just mother and daughter alone, they didn't have this appetite? As soon as he returned, both relaxed for no apparent reason. Shen Jiaochu ate while her mind wandered. Thinking about it was scary. Before they wished to be far away from this man, and in no time, he had corrupted them in a subtle way. Only the sounds of slurping could be heard at the table, until Shen Jiaochu finished eating and realized that you and Wan had already finished a while ago, and both were staring at her in unison. Shen Jiaochu blushed again. She wiped her mouth and stood up feeling awkward. She gathered the dishes from the table. I'll wash the dishes. You stay with Wan for a while. She piled up the plate you had in front of you as well and went toward the kitchen. Upon seeing Shen Jiaochu slip into the kitchen like a breeze, you shook your head. This time you had no intention of fighting with her. Why is she in such a rush? Daddy, come quick. Play building blocks with Wan. Wan jumped off the chair and took you by the hand. leading you toward the sofa. With your help, Wan Wan built, with the blocks, the shape of a little house while laughing with her childish voice. You took the opportunity to ask her about the situation at home. The little one, without reservation, told everything. Especially when talking about Shen Jiaochu, she completely sold her out. Mommy also thinks about daddy. I've seen mommy watching the videos, where daddy sings and laughing secretly. Covering your mouth, you laughed secretly. It really wasn't my intention to ask that, but Wan Wan said it very loudly and didn't notice at all. Shen Jiaochu had already rushed out of the kitchen. At that moment, her blushed face looked like a ripe apple, but her eyes were full of meaning, looking helplessly at this little traitor who sold her mother out to win favor. Wan Wan noticed that her father suddenly fell silent and raised her head in confusion. She let out a squeal and hid in your arms, muttering non-stop, "Mommy doesn't see me, mommy doesn't see me." Shen Jiaochu couldn't help but laugh. She reached out her hand and gave a pat on the bottom of the little one sticking out from your arm. But as she looked at your teasing smile, she explained, "Don't listen to Wan Wan. Wan Wan is lying, it's not true." "Yes, it is. Mommy is lying. Lying is not for good children." Wan Wan buried her little face in your chest and said in a muffled voice. Shen Jiaochu pretended she was going to get angry, and you raised your hands in a sign of immediate surrender, leaving the little one completely exposed. No, I don't believe you. The one who adapts survives, but Wan Wan had a hard time. Shen Jiaochu caught her and began to tickle her. The little one's big eyes shone like stars. She reached out her hand to look at you, who was sitting stiffly in the distance, never imagining that you had sold her out to her mother. For the prosperity of this family, I could only let my little girl suffer a bit. After playing and romping around for a while as a family, Wan ended up with a pout, carrying the blame all by herself. She was stacking blocks alone. You ruffled her hair and then stood up, pulled a paper folder from the suitcase, put it in front of Shen Jiaochu and said, "Mission accomplished. Look, this is the contract from Fangsing Entertainment." Shen Jiaochu looked at you seriously, her eyelashes trembling slightly, showing the uneasiness inside her. In just a few days away, he had really gotten a contract for her. Shen Jiaochu lowered her head, took the folder, opened it, and glanced through the contract inside. Until she reached the end, her hands began to tremble slightly. It was a contract she wouldn't have even dared to dream of. Top-tier treatment, perfect freedom. Even if she had never retired from the music world and had kept singing, until now, she wouldn't have had a contract like this. Shen Jiaochu didn't know how you had achieved it. In just a few days, what had you experienced? How much had you sacrificed to get a contract like this that no one would dare to dream of? Shen Jiaochu raised her head and stared at you with tears in her eyes, biting her lips. Like this, they maintained eye contact. Your face still showed a gentle smile, as if everything were something of no importance. After a moment, Shen Jiaochu spoke in a low voice. "Hey, actually, I don't need to sing." Her voice was low, but without any hesitation, very firm. You frowned slightly, not understanding. You knew that she liked to sing, that she wanted to sing. What did this mean now? You didn't understand what this woman was thinking. Why didn't you always want to sing? Now you have the opportunity, don't you? Why are you backing down? Your tone hardened a bit. It was the first time since you arrived here. Why were you talking to her like that, having been single all your life? Naturally, you couldn't understand. Shen Jiaochu's mind was a mess at that moment. She suddenly felt that continuing like this was also fine. If she really went to sing, she feared there would be changes afterward, that life would no longer be as it is now. Shen Jiaochu pressed her lips together gently again, staring at you as tears fell one by one. After a moment, she said slowly, "I'm afraid that there will be bad changes afterward." It was the first time that Shen Jiaochu told you her fears directly. You were stunned for a moment, and then the slightly furrowed brow relaxed instantly. You smiled, a very tender smile, took a tissue, raised your hand, and gently wiped away the tears streaming down Shen Jiaochu's face. "Shen Jiaochu, who do you take me for? I'm telling you very seriously, go ahead with peace of mind. No matter what happens, none of this will change. After all, I'm already ready to be a full-time dad." Shen Jiaochu never expected you to say that, and on top of that, to wipe her tears directly. It had been way too long since she had experienced such intimacy, and she immediately lowered her head in embarrassment. Her face, already flushed, turned completely red, and she didn't even have time to think about her tangled thoughts. You believed she was still worried about those silly things. But now you knew. You knew that Shen Jiaochu was probably afraid of making changes. After all, anyone who has been at home for a long time without going out always has that psychology. So you said, "I'm serious, leave Wan Wan to me. I will take good care of her. Besides, you already saw your contract. It has a lot of freedom. You can come back whenever you want. Don't worry about the house. Just take care of yourself out there." While you were talking, Shen Zhaochu wasn't listening to a single word. In her head was that same scene from a moment ago, when you brushed her face, Wan Wan, from the sofa, had already been secretly observing the interaction between Daddy and Mommy for a while. She clearly noticed that Mommy, with her head down, already had the corners of her lips slightly turned up, while Daddy was still frowning. The little one didn't understand what was going on, only knowing that Mommy seemed happy now and that Daddy was still worried about her. So she threw herself onto your lap, raised her face, blinked her big eyes, and suddenly said a whim, Daddy Wan. Wan wants to sleep tonight with Daddy and Mommy. Upon hearing that, you were instantly petrified. Shen Zhaochu raised her head and looked at you and the little one in astonishment. Her heart was beating so hard it seemed to want to leap out of her chest. Yes, okay, Daddy. Seeing that you didn't answer, Wan Wan resorted to her arts of pampering. She rolled around on your lap and then turned her head to look at Shen Zhaochu, whose neck was already completely red. With an evasive gaze, you thought, you'd have to ask your mother that, if she agrees. How were you supposed to answer? Shen Zhaochu, so embarrassed she was almost collapsing, stood up, agitatedly, and headed to the bathroom. I'm sleepy, I'm going to wash up and get ready for bed, she said as she fled in a panic. In the living room, only you and Wan Wan were left looking at each other, not knowing what to do. You had no idea how to handle the situation. But Wan Wan jumped off your lap, hugged your neck, and said, Mommy said, it's fine, Daddy, as long as you are ready, okay? Shen Zhaochu said that. You turned your head to look at the closed bathroom door, from where the sound of someone washing up could be heard. Then I guess it's okay. You took a deep breath of the milky scent of the little one's body to give yourself courage and told yourself, this is completely for Wan Wan, not for anything else. After a good while, Shen Zhaochu came out of the bathroom and went to the bedroom without making a sound. As she passed through the living room, she didn't even glance at the sofa. Then you picked up Wan Wan in your arms, stood up, and went to the bathroom. You helped the little one washed up yourself quickly, and then came out carrying her. It was at that moment that your heart began to race at full speed, from the living room to the master bedroom. A short distance felt like it lasted an eternity. When your feet crossed the bedroom threshold, your mind went blank. It was something you hadn't experienced in 2 lifetimes, and at that moment, you desperately wanted to call for help. What were you supposed to do? Shen Zhaochu had already slipped under the covers, looking as if she were asleep, lying on her side with her back to you. You couldn't clearly see her expression at that moment. Only her pinkish glowing earlobes betrayed her state. You closed the door gently. The sound made Shen Zhaochu's body tremble slightly, but she still didn't move. You sat on the other side of the bed, hugged Wan Wan, and began to tell her a bedtime story. Today, Daddy will tell Wan the story of Snow White. Your soft voice resonated in the room. Shen Zhaochu's eyelashes fluttered slightly, and her heart, which was pounding hard, gradually calmed down with the development of the story. In the end, without realizing it, she fell asleep. Just like her, Wan Wan also drifted off to sleep with your story. The night was already deep. Seeing that her breathing became peaceful, you turned off the light, got under the covers, and lay down. The pillow smelled of that familiar, soft, and delicate scent. It was the first time you learned that a girl's pillow could smell so good. You patted Wan Wan, who was next to you. But with that scent, you soon fell into a deep sleep. A night without incidents. The next day, your biological clock rang punctually. At 6 in the morning, you were already awake. Instinctively, you hugged the soft female body you had in your arms, and then you froze. Since when was Wan Wan so big? You swallowed your saliva and looked inside the sheets. Where Wan Wan was supposed to be, there was no sign of her in your arms. It wasn't the little one, but Shen Zhaochu. You were completely stunned. How had she ended up in your arms? A soft and delicate aroma enveloped your nose. The body in your arms was soft and warm, and your determination shattered instantly. Without realizing it, you leaned your body down until you were close to the beautiful face of Shen Zhaochu. You stopped right there, fighting an intense internal battle. Then you saw her long eyelashes flutter slightly. Startled, you quickly straightened up and carefully withdrew the arm that she had under the back of her neck. Crouching down, you got out of bed, stealthily, and escaped from the bedroom. While washing up in the bathroom, you felt completely defeated. It was way too torturous for so early. What you didn't know was that right after you left the bedroom, Shen Zhaochu, who was in bed, opened her beautiful eyes and sighed in relief. She covered her burning face with the sheets and curled up as if she couldn't show herself. Right when you sat up, Shen Zhaochu had already woken up. She didn't know when she had ended up in your arms, and she had even used your arm as a pillow. She felt so embarrassed, until she felt your breath on her face. She felt a certain panic that you intended to kiss her secretly. What should she do? Shen Zhaochu was terrified at that moment, and she didn't dare to wake up. She could only keep pretending to be asleep. Fortunately, you stopped in time. Otherwise, she really wouldn't know how to face you. But when you pulled away, she felt a vague sense of loss. Shen Zhaochu didn't know if she was ready. She only knew that her mind was very confused. After a while, tucked inside the sheets, Shen Zhaochu exhaled deeply. Let's just go with the flow. She stayed like that until 8 o'clock. Shen Zhaochu heard the sound of the door. opening again and got out of bed. She tidied herself up and left the room. You were already in the kitchen preparing the food. Seeing Shen Zhaochu come out, you greeted her with a slightly awkward expression. Hi, good morning. Shen Zhaochu's expression was also awkward. She didn't even raise her gaze to look at you, only replied softly, and then went into the bathroom to wash up. You didn't dwell on it. Turned around and continued preparing breakfast. You didn't expect that Shen Zhaochu would finish quickly and come straight to the kitchen. Let me help you with it. With a natural expression, Shen Zhaochu skillfully took the container from your hands and began to wash the rice. You were only surprised for a moment, but reacted quickly and willingly accepted her help. You turned around and started washing the vegetables. The two worked in harmony, like a couple that had lived together for many years. 20 minutes later, the golden millet porridge and 2 vegetable dishes were ready. You took off your apron, washed your hands, and naturally entered the master bedroom to wake up Wan, who had already drifted to the foot of the bed. After waking up the family and enjoying a cheerful breakfast, you looked at Shen Zhaochu and said, by the way, you are going to report to Fangsing Entertainment in August. Hearing this, Shen Zhaochu sat on the sofa, blinking her beautiful eyes. Before that first, I have to go pick up Chuchu and then see Sister Yoon. If they knew that I can return to the stage, they would surely be very happy, Shen Zhaochu said with a sincere smile on her face. Before, when she retired abruptly, what she regretted most was having let down those 2 people. Now, even if it isn't for her own dream, for the 2 of them, she should do her best. You nodded, stroking Wan's hair, while thinking to yourself, then, what song should I write for? Shen Zhaochu, this is her first stop in her comeback. It must be a resounding success. Shen Zhaochu has an excellent vocal timbre. She can handle both sweet and melancholic songs, so there are too many options. For a moment, you can't make up your mind. After pondering for a while without result, you think about something else. Ah yes, in a few days I'll buy a car. I'll buy 2 within a month. Wan will start kindergarten, so it will be more practical for dropping her off and picking her up. Besides, although the company, Fangsing will assign a service vehicle for your free time. When you go out, you'll still need a car of your own. Shen Zhaochu reflected for a moment, and also considered that buying a car is fine. Before, since she didn't leave the house, it didn't matter if she had a car or not, but now that she will go out frequently, not having one is really inconvenient. However, she is worried that you don't have enough money, because the profits from your 2 previous videos were used to buy a lot of furniture. You also took another trip and she doesn't know how much is left. Moreover, Wan will soon start kindergarten, which will mean another expense. After reflecting, Shen Zhaochu raised her head, and a bit of worry was reflected on her face. Just buy one. That way you'll have a car to drop off and pick up the girl at home. For now, I have the car assigned to me by the company. I shouldn't need it. When you make money, then consider the matter of buying another car. Shen Zhaochu thought that when she starts releasing songs and albums and has an income, then she will consider these matters. Thinking about this, Shen Zhaochu felt a bit apologetic. Even she herself isn't sure when she will be able to sing, even though the contract with Fangsing Entertainment has top-tier resources, and it also includes a musical freedom clause. She doesn't know how you negotiated with the company. If the resources are top-tier, why didn't they commission songs for her? She is a bit confused, since she doesn't know many composers. Thinking about composers, Shen Zhaochu suddenly froze and then looked at you, who remained calm. It seems that you do know how to write songs. Although she doesn't know when you learned regarding the 2 songs on Douyin, you dedicated one of them live to Wan. You of course know Shen Zhaochu's concern about not buying the car. Calmly, you waved your hand. Relax, don't worry about the money at home. Let the bullet fly for a while. In a few days, we'll have money. On Sunday, the protagonist's music video will be published, punctually at 8 in the morning, released jointly by Wine and some associated accounts. The coordination with multiple departments for simultaneous broadcasting makes the lineup unprecedentedly luxurious. Of course, no matter how luxurious the lineup is, what the public wants to see is still the quality. Only if the quality is good, people will be willing to pay. Only then would attention be paid to the story behind this music video. However, now, a phrase is constantly circulating on the internet. If it's by Bufan, it must be of high quality. Today, seeing that both the lyrics and the composition of this music video are by Bufan, suddenly everyone is interested. This mysterious guy doesn't act unless it's necessary. But when he does, he surprises everyone. So the viewers click on this music video, wanting to see the grand show, until the music and the last image disappear. The extraordinary figure doesn't appear. You remain just as mysterious, but everyone was satisfied. These images, every figure in this video, was deeply engraved in everyone's hearts. Even after a long time since the video was published, nobody liked it. Nobody commented. Everyone seemed to have collectively disappeared. At that moment, in the wine meeting room, Li Sijia kept looking at the real-time data on the internet. She didn't understand why, while so many people were watching it, nobody gave a like. Could it be that they don't like this video? Li Sijia felt a bit disappointed. She wiped her slightly red eyes. It was hard for her to accept this situation. However, the next moment, the data for this video suddenly shot up. The number of likes and comments exploded like an uncontrolled flood. It was the first time in history that in such a short time, the data grew explosively. In just a few seconds, the likes went from 100,000 to 5 million, then to 10 million, 20 million. The platform experienced its first screen crash in history. Even so, it didn't seem to stop. The likes and comments from netizens. But after watching it completely, they had remained frozen. Empathy was the most direct feeling in the heart of each one. This video, right from the end, rose directly to the trends, firmly occupying a spot on the trending list. In the wine meeting room, a shout of joy suddenly erupted. Lee Si-jia also clenched her fists in excitement, silently looking at the rapidly rising data. It turns out people weren't insensitive. They just hadn't had time to process that emotion. Another half hour passed. This fervor didn't just stay there, but even extended to Weibo. The top spots on Weibo's trending topics were about this. On the same topic, the netizens were discussing endlessly. It's not known which netizen first saw that on the platform. Wine uploaded an audio-only version, just instrumental, music, and also configured it as free. In an instant, everyone who had seen the music video rushed to the platform. Wayne to rate, download, save, like, subscribe, and share. Y'all. On that day, the entire entertainment industry of Huaxia was shaken, no matter which entertainment company or individual. After watching this video, everyone silently forwarded it. Such popularity was deeply envied by them, but they couldn't reach it. They could only silently follow it to take advantage of the fervor, forcing their way into life. And at that moment, nestled in your arms, Shen Zhaochu sobbed in a low voice, grabbing the edge of your clothes to wipe her tears and nose, looking like a pitiful, distressed little thing that made you feel a lot of affection. It wasn't just watching a video. If she cried because she also felt wronged. Shen Zhaochu finally knew what you had been busy with these days away. Creating a song like that and collaborating with Wine to help her get that unreal contract. What kind of things had you gone through? She didn't know. What hurt her was that you had done so many things out there and hadn't told her upon returning. Could it be because of this that you suffered some setback out there? Did they look down on you? How much energy did you expend to create a song like that? At the same time, in the city center, at the branch of Tiananmen Entertainment, the face of Liu Li was so gloomy it looked like it could drip water. Her agent sister Yin also looked very bad. A heavy atmosphere reigned in the room. Only Zhao Chuchu was secretly smiling not far away, with a very mocking attitude. Liu Li glanced sideways at her agent. She thought more and more that this woman, already old and unattractive, was really useless. Sister, Yin, wasn't your song scheduled to come out at the end of July on Wayne? What happened now? The song was held back, and they asked me to release it at the beginning of August. The company's promotion had already been done. I had just bought trending spots, and without saying anything, they not only delayed my song, but also monopolized all the trends. Sister Yin, this has always been your responsibility. You have to give me an explanation. Sister Yin's face darkened even more. With something like this, she was already in a bad mood, and now Liu Li was shouting at her. For a moment, she felt even more anger. You're asking me for an explanation? If you have the guts, go ask Wine for it. Why are you taking it out on me? Who knows where a piece of a song came from that made Wine's Mbai? If it weren't for having to depend on Liu Li to make a living, sister Yin wouldn't even want to talk to her. And now what do we do? Liu Li and sister Yin frowned at sister Yin. Now they are in the same boat and cannot fight yet. She let out a cold laugh. We do this, otherwise Liu Li would have no choice. In her heart, she cursed Bufan. It was all her fault for stealing the attention that belonged to her. When Liu Li turned her face and saw Zhao Chuchu, who was not far away, covering her mouth and laughing, she became even more enraged. Zhao Chuchu, don't you see the mess here? Come quickly to pick up. Her voice was sharp and shrill, making Zhao Chuchu unable to help but scratch her ear. Oh, I'm sorry, today my contract expired. I already handed in the papers. I can't take it anymore, said Zhao Chuchu, laughing out loud, sitting on a chair with her legs crossed, drinking peacefully. Liu Li stood up abruptly, pointed at Zhao Chuchu with her face turning pale and then red, unable to say a single word for a good while. At that moment, after having lunch, you, a happy family of 3, took a taxi and went out. In the afternoon, you arrived punctually at the 4S store. Hello, welcome, sir and madam. Do you have any model you like? The salesman, in charge of receiving them, had bright eyes. With years of experience in sales, a family of 3 coming to see cars has an 80% chance of buying. You nodded together with Shen Zhaochu, who had already researched in advance and chosen the model before coming. Do you have an H9, the top spec version? Yes, yes. Upon hearing that you really had a model in mind. Yes, yes. Hearing that you actually had a model in mind. The salesman's eyes lit up even more. The cheapest top spec H9 costs more than 300,000, sir. Right here we have exactly 2 units of the top spec H9 in stock. One in golden quicksand and another in purple gentian. Which one would you like to see first? The salesman said as he guided the 3 of them into the store. purple gentian looks deeper. That was also what they had already agreed on at home. The purple gentian gives a greater sense of luxury, so going out she won't lose dignity. Sir has a good eye. The purple gentian really matches your wife's elegance better, the salesman said as he took him in front of the car and introduced it. This is the top spec H9 in purple gentian. Have a seat, sir, and test it out. You smiled and said, Shen Jiaochu, let me hold Wan. Wan, you test it out. You saw that the eyes of Shen Jiaochu clearly lit up upon seeing this car. Evidently, she was very satisfied with it. Shen Jiaochu was a bit shy. Her cheeks flushed slightly, but she plucked up her courage and handed you Wan. Then she sat down. Before, she had also dreamed of having a car of her own. To think that today it was coming true. The car was very good, with elegant lines without losing its majesty. Seeing how fond Shen Jiaochu was of it, you became even happier. You generously pulled out your bank card and your driver's license and gave them to the salesman. This is full payment by card. The corner of the salesman's lips almost reached his ears. Okay, sir, I will give you the biggest discount possible. Wait for me while I prepare the documents. The salesman didn't wait long and returned with the purchase contract and various documents. They sat at the table in the rest area. Sir, if you pay in cash, the total price is 385,000, including insurance and registration. And we'll give you a complete set of seat covers and a car cover as a gift. You can pick it up tomorrow. You nodded without saying more, entered the password, and paid by card. With all the paperwork finished, you agreed with the salesman to pick up the car tomorrow morning, and then happily left the 4S store. By the time you got home, it was already 5 in the afternoon. Hardly had you arrived when you received a call from Li Sijia. Hello, big millionaire. Congratulations. Now the internet is full of news about the MV and about you. You have become completely famous. Thanks, same to you. It's not that I want to be famous. On the contrary, your company has surely made a lot of profit, right? You smiled. That's thanks to you, big millionaire. Speaking seriously, when will Shen Jiaochu come to report? On the other end of the line, Li Sijia joked with you and then asked with a laugh. You looked toward the sofa where Shen Jiaochu was with her ears alert eavesdropping on your call. You smiled. The day after tomorrow, at the latest on the 3rd. There are still some matters at home. When I finish them, I'll go. Good, then I'll wait for her here. Li Sijia felt very curious about what kind of character that woman would have for whom you are willing to make so much effort. The efficiency of the 4S store was very fast. At 10 in the morning the next day, the salesman called to notify that the car already had its license plate on and the insurance was ready. It can be picked up at any time. The task of picking up the car was assigned to Shen Jiaochu. You didn't go with her. You stayed at home, taking care of Wan, and she arrived at the dealership. Hello. Shen Jiaochu had already decided that tomorrow she would go to register at Fangseng Entertainment. Although you told her that she could wait a bit longer, she didn't want to. She also had her own plans. Besides singing being her dream, she didn't want to be like a vase just depending on you. At that moment, Shen Jiaochu didn't know that Zhao Chuchu had already resigned. She drove to near the Tianmei Entertainment building and then called Zhao Chuchu. She wanted to give her a surprise. The call connected quickly. Shen Jiaochu was smiling, even her voice sounded cheerful. Chuchu, guess where I am? Zhao Chuchu was in her rented apartment as she answered the call. Sister Shen, if you're not at home, where else could you be? Hey silly, I'm right outside your company. Come down quickly, I have something to tell you. Sister Shen, wait a moment, I'm coming. Zhao Chuchu got a bit nervous because Sister Shen was right outside her company. For a moment, she didn't know how to tell her that she had resigned and was returning to her hometown. Fortunately, the apartment of Zhao Chuchu wasn't far from the Tianmei Entertainment building. In no time, she arrived running and out of breath. She looked left and right until she heard a voice. Chuchu, I'm here. She turned her head and saw Shen Jiaochu getting out of a new car, waving at her. Hello, Sister Shen. You bought a car, Zhao Chuchu narrowed her eyes, forming a pretty arc, and walked quickly towards Shen Jiaochu. Looking at the new car next to Shen Jiaochu, she couldn't believe it. That man had bought a car for Sister Shen. He wasn't treating her badly. Shen Jiaochu nodded with a smile and took Zhao Chuchu's hand. Oh yes, I bought it today. I came to consult you about something. Do you have time? Zhao Chuchu noticed that this time Shen Jiaochu seemed different from the last time she saw her. Her skin was more radiant, her face fuller, her complexion clearly better. Above all, that self-confidence seemed to have returned. Seeing her former assistant, Shen Jiaochu's eyes shone with hope as she took her hand directly. Chuchu, come back to be my assistant. Let's also call sister. Yun, I want to return to the stage. Hardly had she finished speaking, Zhao Chuchu was stunned, unable to believe her ears. But the next instant, she jumped with excitement. I knew it. Heaven never closes all doors. Sister Shen, what a coincidence, I just resigned. We'll be able to fight together again. However, Shen Jiaochu froze. That was how she learned that Chuchu had already resigned. Suddenly, an immense guilt and sadness washed over her. I'm sorry. Before I was too capricious, because of me, I dragged Chuchu and Sister Yun down. We must look toward the future now. I'm going to return. Then she asked, do you know where Sister Yun is? Let's go find her right now. Chao Chuchu gave her the address immediately. Yes, Sister Yun is surely at the hospital taking care of her mother. Shen, Zhao Chu didn't waste time. She had Chuchu get into the car and both headed quickly to the hospital. But on the way, Zhao Chuchu, looking at the brand new interior of the car, asked curiously, Sister Shen, does he know you are going to return? Shen. Zhao Chu nodded and her lips curved involuntarily. Yes, it was he who negotiated the contract for my return, and he also bought this car for me. Those words left Zhao Chuchu with her mouth wide open. He negotiated the contract? How is that possible, Sister Shen? You're not lying to me, right? Shen Zhaochu shook her head and dropped an even heavier bombshell. It's true. He negotiated the contract with Fangsing Entertainment, and it's of the highest level. Zhao Chuchu was totally bewildered. She couldn't understand how that man could have secured a top-tier contract. Seeing that she wasn't speaking, Shen Zhaochu continued, he treats me very well now. Don't use that attitude with him anymore. Zhao Chuchu reacted and pouting teased, Sister Shen, how protective you are of your husband. I'm jealous and feeling miserable. Shen, Zhao Chu smiled but didn't contradict her. Soon they arrived at the hospital. Standing before the door of room 302 in the inpatient ward, Shen Zhaochu's heart was anxious. But when she knocked on the door and saw the figure of Sister Yun, tears almost escaped her eyes. Sister Yun, who used to have black hair, now had white hair, her firm face showing the marks of time. That appearance was exactly the same as the one she herself had before. Upon seeing Shen Zhaochu, Sister Yun was completely stunned, staring fixedly at her. They looked at each other in silence. It was Zhao Chuchu who came running in, first to break the silence. Sister Yun, sister. Shen and I came to see you. Sister Yun then reacted, rubbing her hands nervously. Why didn't you let me know beforehand? Look at the state I'm in. With a forced smile, she said that her mother was doing fine and would recover with one more surgery. But a hint of bitterness was hidden in that smile. She no longer had resources and owed more than 100,000 outside. How would she pay for the next surgery? Shen Zhaochu entered the hospital room with her head down and biting her lip like a child who had done something wrong. But Sister Yun approached her, taking her hand with a smile of relief on her face. That you have come to see me? I'm very glad to see you like this. Now it makes me even happier. It means you are doing well. Before Sister Yun stopped you for your own good, don't take it badly. At that moment, Shen Zhaochu could no longer contain herself. Sister Yun, I'm sorry, and she suddenly threw herself into her arms. Her tears fell like rain. Sister Yun gave her gentle pats on the back and comforted her with a tender voice. You don't have to apologize. What mother is going to blame her own child? I truly treat you like my daughter. Upon hearing this, Shen Zhaochu cried even harder. Sister Yun held her like that, embracing her and patting her until she grew tired of crying. Then she raised her swollen and reddened eyes and looked at the gentle smile of Sister Yun. Shen Zhaochu pursed her lips. Sister Yun, I'm going to return to the stage. Will you still be my manager? Upon hearing this, Sister Yun suddenly froze. She frowned instantly. And what will you do with your daughter? Don't worry, that guy will take care of her. In Sister Yun's eyes, Lu Fan wasn't exactly a master at taking care of children, but Shen Zhaochu nodded firmly. Lu Fan is Wanwan's father. He will take good care of her. I trust him. Sister Yun rubbed her temples, repressing her doubts. Even if he can take care of the child, returning to the stage is not easy. Do you have a company to sign with? And what resources will the company give you? Before she finished speaking, Shen Zhaochu immediately pulled out from her bag a contract and handed it to her. Sister Yun, look, this is the contract from Fangsing Entertainment. Upon seeing the words Fangsing Entertainment, Sister Yun was instantly stunned. That was one of the 3 big companies in the country. With skepticism, she took the contract and reviewed it thoroughly. But the more she read, the more shocked she became. Upon reaching the end, her hands were already starting to tremble slightly. What kind of heavenly contract was this? Had Shen Zhaochu kidnapped the owner of Fangsing? The best resources with no restrictions on freedom. A short contract of 2 years. This was an abusive clause. Sister Yun raised her head abruptly, her voice trembling. Is this real? Yes, of course it's real. Besides, it has Fangsing's seal. Shen Zhaochu hurried to explain, fearing she wouldn't believe her, but Sister Yun was completely astonished, staring fixedly at it. The clauses of that contract, in her entire career as a manager, she had never seen anything like them. It was too incredible. Has Fangsing gone mad? Sister Yun? Tomorrow I have to report. Seeing that she still didn't believe her, Shen Zhaochu had to insist again. Finally, Sister Yun believed it, but the surprise on her face did not diminish at all. Shen Zhaochu, tell me the truth. How did you get this contract? Shen Zhaochu breathed a sigh of relief, her eyes slightly red. Lu Fan went to Modu to get it for me. He wrote a song for Fangsing. With that sentence, Sister Yun doubted her own existence. Lu Fan wrote a song and got such an incredible contract. That was a fairy tale, the most absurd thing in the world. Zhaochu, don't misunderstand me if I don't believe it. Does he know how to write songs? And even if he knows, what kind of song could Yoko be worth a contract like that? Don't let him trick you. He really wrote a song. Seeing that Sister Yun didn't believe it, Shen Jiaochu immediately pulled out her phone and opened the account named Bufan on the platform. Sister Yoon skeptically took the phone and Zhao Chuchu, who was right beside her, also leaned in. The next moment, "Oh my god, more than 100 million likes, Zhao Chuchu," exclaimed clean out, then quickly covered her mouth. This was a hospital. Sister Yoon was also completely stunned. What kind of video could have over 100 million likes? Then she saw part of the account name, followed by Wine CEO Creation, Bu Fan. Sister Yoon was instantly disoriented. She raised her head, and an absurd thought popped into her mind. Bu Fan is Lu Fan, Zhao Chuchu also exclaimed under her breath. Bu Fan, that most popular and mysterious guy on the entire internet. Seeing the two of them so shocked, Shen Jiaochu smiled even wider. Yes. Then Sister Yoon fully reacted, and with a complex look, she handed the phone back to Shen Jiaochu. Of course, she was glad that Shen Jiaochu had a bright future, but the next moment, she sighed. "Jiaochu, with your conditions, you can definitely find a better manager. I'm no longer good enough." "Why, Sister Yoon? Don't you want me anymore?" exclaimed Shen Jiaochu. Sister Yoon looked toward the inside of the room with a face full of helplessness. "You've seen it too. Your mother needs care. I really can't leave. We can hire a nanny." But Sister Yoon put on a difficult expression. Where would she get the money to hire a nanny? Staying with Shen Jiaochu would only hold her back. "Jiaochu, you don't have to persuade me anymore. Such a great opportunity. You must make good use of it. Don't be so capricious in the future." Saying this, Sister Yoon turned her head sharply, not looking at her anymore. Shen Jiaochu bit her lip. She didn't understand why Sister Yoon simply didn't want to go with her. She arrived with hope and returned disappointed. During the entire way back, Shen Jiaochu remained in silence. After leaving Zhao Chuchu at home, she drove back alone. But when the door opened and you saw her, you were stunned. She was crying. "Did everything go well?" you asked directly. Who would have thought that right after you finished speaking? Shen Jiaochu's expression changed instantly. She dropped onto the sofa, looking at you as if she had found her only support. Her eyes filled with tears again. "Sister Yoon doesn't want to go with me." You frowned. Why, in your memories, that strict woman is the one who loves Shen Jiaochu the most? Right after, Shen Jiaochu told you everything that happened at the hospital, all in a pitiful tone. You listened in silence until she finished, then nodded thoughtfully. "I understand now." Suddenly, you stood up. "You're a silly girl. Also hold Wan. I'm going out for a moment." "Where are you going?" Shen Jiaochu showed discontent on her face. She didn't know if it was because you called her silly or because she didn't want you to leave. You turned back with a slight smile on your lips. "I'm going to look for that person who is important to you." Saying this, you walked straight out. First, you found a domestic services agency, then you drove straight to the hospital. But you didn't go straight to look for Sister Yoon. Instead, you first looked for the chief doctor. After learning the whole situation of Sister Yoon's mother from the doctor, you went up to the inpatient department. Arriving in front of room 302, you adjusted your emotions and put a cold expression on your face. You knocked gently on the door. The next instant, the door opened and Sister Yoon appeared with her eyes slightly red. Upon seeing you, she was stunned for a moment. But you, with a calm voice and firm attitude, said, "Sister Yoon, won't you let me in first?" Sister Yoon frowned, but she still stepped aside to let you in. Hardly had you stepped into the room, a white-haired old lady tormented by pain looked at you. "Xiao Yun, is this your friend?" Sister Yoon didn't have time to answer, but you walked quickly to the bed, and you took the old lady's hand. "Ma'am, my wife is Sister Yoon's friend. She came by earlier, but since you were sleeping, she didn't want to disturb you." Hearing this, the old lady showed a warm smile. "So you are Xiao Yun's friend. How thoughtful of you both." You replied immediately. "Ma'am, having Sister Yoon as a friend is a blessing for us. My wife at home never stops talking about how good Sister Yoon is. She's already filled my ears with it." You shifted your tone and began to ramble. "It's a pity that regarding this job, my wife wanted to go with Sister Yoon, but she worries about your health and doesn't want to go. You don't know how sadly my wife cried when she got home." Behind you, Sister Yoon's face changed drastically. From her perspective, you were a persuader sent by Shen Jiaochu. What job? "Xiao Yun, what's going on?" The mother of Sister Yoon didn't know her daughter's specific job. Hearing this, her gray eyebrows furrowed instantly. "Mom, don't pay attention to him. There is no job." Sister Yoon glared at you and hurried to explain. But the old lady was no fool. She instantly took your hand. "Young man, tell me, what job is it?" You pretended to be worried, looked at Sister Yoon, and then slowly said, "Ma'am, this job requires traveling. We wanted to hire a nanny for you, but Sister Yoon isn't at ease. She insists on taking care of you personally." Did you hear that? Daughter. Hearing this, the old lady turned her head toward her daughter. "If the job requires traveling, then go, Mom." Sister Yoon grew impatient. Sister Yoon became nervous and hated you even more in her heart. You knew that she wanted to stay here, but the fundamental reason was that she couldn't leave. Where would she get the money to hire a nanny? The money for the next surgery was still not resolved. At that moment, you spoke calmly. "Sister Yoon, let's step outside to talk." Saying this, you smiled at the old lady. then turned around and left the room. Sister Yoon gritted her teeth and followed. In the hallway, Sister Yoon raised her head and glared at you furiously. What the hell do you want to do? But you looked down at her, as if stating a fact. You can consider me a bad guy? I just don't want Shen Jiaochu to be sad. If you don't accompany her, she will always be thinking about you. And when the time comes, even if she is very passionate, she'll only be able to give 15%. You paused and dropped the bombshell. Oh, by the way, I already paid for your mother's next surgery, and I also contacted a nurse. I'll give you the number you choose for yourself. Are you giving me charity? Sister Yoon let out a furious laugh. But you, like a rogue, shrugged your shoulders. You're overthinking. You have to pay it back later. Let it be deducted from the salary Shen Jiaochu gives you. You stared at her fixedly, word for word. You and Chuchu get the same treatment as Shen Jiaochu. It has nothing to do with the company. I don't care how much she pays you, this is my money. You have to pay me back. You spread your hands, adopting the posture of a dead pig that doesn't fear boiling water. Anyway, I already paid for the surgery and the nurse, and they don't give refunds. What you do from now on is none of my business. Saying this, without giving her time to react, you turned around and left. Lu Fan, don't tell Shen Jiaochu. When you were about to reach the door, Sister Yoon's voice came from behind. Without turning your head, you just waved your hand and walked away quickly. In the hallway, Sister Yoon looked in the direction you disappeared, with a complex gaze. It took her quite a while to return to the room. Xiao Yun has that young man left, seeing her enter alone. She patted the bed for her to sit down. Don't hold a grudge against him. He is a good person. Your mother has seen many people, and just by looking at his eyes, you can tell what he's like. The old lady took her daughter's hand and told her sincerely, Mom knows you are filial, but there are many paths in life, and if you choose wrong, you will regret it later. My health is fine, right? With one more surgery, I will recover. And the doctor said the risk isn't big, so go. If you really regret it later because of me, then Mom will be truly sad. Sister Yoon lowered her head and remained silent for a long time, finally nodding softly. As for you, as soon as you got home, Shen Jiaochu approached you. Her cute face was full of curiosity, but you purposely didn't look at her and cheerfully picked up 1 won. 1 won? What do you want for dinner? Shen Jiaochu's expression froze instantly. She looked at you in disbelief as you walked right past her. I like everything Daddy makes. The little girl played along, completely noticing that Mommy's face had already gone gloomy. Great, then Daddy is going to cook right now. You gave the little girl a kiss and turned toward the kitchen. Hey, I'm angry. Shen Jiaochu pouted, her face full of resentment. Her expression seemed to accuse you that this guy was ignoring her on purpose. Didn't he know how impatiently she had been waiting at home? You turned around with an innocent face. What's wrong? Asking that made Shen Jiaochu even more furious. When you went out, you tenderly called her silly, and now that you're back, you played dumb. Furious, she plonked down on the sofa, crossed her arms and turned her head to glare at you. You smiled and decided to stop teasing her. Tomorrow when you leave, remember to take your 2 loyal bodyguards with you. With that personality of yours, if you don't take them, you'll definitely be mistreated. Shen Jiaochu's eyes lit up instantly. That speed of changing expressions left you amazed. Sister Yoon agreed. What do you think? Well, I'm going to cook, don't bother me. Shen Jiaochu ultimately didn't ask how you managed it, because every time she asked you played dumb. But that didn't change the fact that her gaze toward you became brighter and brighter. She must have thought that, since you changed, there was nothing you couldn't do. The next morning, Shen Jiaochu got up early and so did you. Rarely enough, you didn't go out for a run. Both of you quietly prepared breakfast together in the kitchen. Wan Wan was still sleeping. Shen Jiaochu feared that if she saw her awake, she wouldn't be able to leave. Once breakfast was finished, she ate in silence. You sat by her side chattering like a housewife. When you get there, remember to call often otherwise. Wan will miss you. If anything happens over there, tell me, don't keep it to yourself like a fool. Shen Jiaochu sipped her porridge while listening to your words, and suddenly felt a pang of emptiness in her heart. She didn't want to leave. She ate that meal very slowly until the bowl was completely empty. Just then her phone rang and you reminded her. She reacted and answered the call. Hello? Sister Shen? I'm ready. Sister Yoon is with me. When are you coming? I'll be there in a moment. Wait for me a little longer. All right, see you at the entrance of my neighborhood. She hung up the phone. Shen Jiaochu raised her head to look at you, her almond eyes, holding an expression so complex that it made your heart tremble. You had to admit that Shen Jiaochu was truly beautiful, so you quickly averted your gaze. Looking at the luggage in the living room. It's time to go, don't keep the others waiting. I'm going to check on Wan Wan and then I'll leave. Shen Jiaochu withdrew her gaze, her voice very soft. You nodded and you went into the bedroom together. The little girl was sleeping soundly, with her arms and legs splayed out, unaware that her mother was about to travel far away. Shen Jiaochu leaned over her little face and kissed her over and over again, then buried her face in the girl's neck, nuzzling her before reluctantly standing up. She walked out of this bedroom looking back with every step. You followed her silently and helped her load the luggage into the car. You watched her sit in the driver's seat, then close the door and step to the side. I'm leaving. Shen Zhaochu turned her head to look at you. Remember to come home often. Otherwise, the little girl will throw a tantrum. Understood. The car started and suddenly Shen Zhaochu turned around again with an extremely serious expression. Lufan, I like you. Right after saying it, without waiting for your response, the car roared off. They arrived downtown where Zhao Chuchu was already getting impatient. Sister, Yun standing beside her, shook her head. This girl is still so impatient. Sister Yun arrived. Upon seeing Shen Zhaochu's car, Zhao Chuchu waved her hand repeatedly. Chuchu? Sister Yun never imagined that the three of them could reunite one day. And all of this was because of that man who looked like an inexperienced pretty boy. Sister Yun, thank you for coming. Without you, Chuchu wouldn't know what to do. All right, you're already a mother, yet you still act like a child. Sister, Yun patted her hand with an efficient expression. You should thank your husband. Let's not talk anymore. Go get the luggage. These words made Shen Zhaochu blush intensely. Until now, she didn't know how you had convinced Sister Yun. The luggage of the three of them wasn't much. The car loaded it without any problems. Upon getting into the car, Zhao Chuchu waved her hand and shouted excitedly, we're off. The bright road ahead of us. Here we come. The car accelerated toward the Magic City. Meanwhile, at the building of the Entertainment Corporation, banksing in the Magic City, Licia arrived early at the office, but she was restless all day. And when noon finally arrived, she calculated the time, went down immediately and arrived at the entrance of the building, wanting to see that person. How spoiled would the wife be? It didn't take long. A car with a Hancheng license plate entered the parking lot. Licia narrowed her eyes. Three people got out of the car, one chattering full of youthful energy, another older with an expression of total affection. Upon seeing these two friends, she knew that Shen Zhaochu's character was surely not bad. Then she directed her gaze toward the woman in the middle. Apricot face almond eyes with a tender smile on her lips. Seeing her brought tenderness. It was no wonder Lu Fan acted like that. Licia composed her spirits, approached quickly and said, hello, you are Shen Zhaochu, right? Hello, I'm the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department of Fangsing. Licia, welcome. Hello, I am Shen Zhaochu. Shen Zhaochu's voice was soft and sweet. She was also observing this artist. What a good posture, what a beautiful voice. Moreover, she was unexpectedly clean and pure. But Licia thought to herself, such a good woman. How on earth did Lu Fan win her over? Rarely enough, she averted her gaze first and looked at Zhao Chuchu and Sister Yun. You two are Zhao Chuchu, my assistant, and Sister Yun, my manager, replied Shen Zhaochu seriously. But she always felt that this woman she had met was very courteous to her, but her reaction was a bit strange. Shen? Zhaochu tilted her head in confusion. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something and her gaze darkened a bit. Your own team, that's great, that saves us trouble. Licia nodded at both, then turned her head. Then first I'll give you a tour, because for the next 2 years, you will be working here. After the tour, I'll take you to the apartment. They followed Licia into the building. During the way, Zhao Chuchu was completely shocked. This was much more luxurious than Tianmei Entertainment in Hancheng, and at any moment you could see stars who were trending. This couldn't be compared with the Tianmei branch. You have to know that in Hancheng, even a second-line singer like Liu Li could put on airs. Licia took them in the elevator directly to the 11th floor and explained to them enthusiastically that this entire floor consisted of recording rooms, all with top-tier professional equipment. Next, we will go to the 12th floor, which is the exclusive lounge for singers, where things are created and notifications are received. During the path, many people greeted Licia with strange flattering expressions, and Shen Zhaochu didn't understand it. Why did they feel envy upon seeing her? Shen Zhaochu didn't comprehend it. Licia was nothing more than the Deputy Director of the Human Resources Department. So why did everyone look at her in such a strange way? Even more incredible, they saw a bald man with the badge of Director of the Human Resources Department who actively stopped to greet Licia, and he even greeted Shen Zhaochu. She replied a little, flattered, and thought that this director named Zhao was too kind. You have to know that in Tianmei, all the bosses had their noses pointing to the sky. Just then, Licia stopped at the end of the hallway and pointed to the room in front of them. This will be your exclusive lounge from now on. Shen Zhaochu looked up. The door was closed. It had a code lock, and on the door plate, her name was clearly written. Licia, while dialing the code, explained that the initial password was 66666 and that she should change it herself later. Let's take a look. The door opened. They entered the room and Zhao Chuchu let out an instant wow. This lounge was huge. The decoration was too luxurious. Even Shen Zhaochu was shocked. She had never seen such a luxurious lounge. Zhao Chuchu almost fainted with happiness. When remembering the doghouse they had back in Tianmei, there was no comparison. If there were no strangers present, she really wanted to throw herself onto the sofa to roll around. Licia smiled upon seeing their shocked expressions. Not everyone gets this treatment. Top-tier resources need top-tier lounges. Hearing this, Zhao Chuchu suddenly felt that guy Lufan didn't seem so despicable anymore. Until they went out, Xiao Chuchu was still immersed in joy. At that moment, the door next door opened suddenly. An elegant and poised woman walked out in high heels, followed by a small assistant. Upon seeing them, the woman showed a flash of surprise and then greeted Li Xia. Sister, Li Yu are personally accompanying people to see the rooms. Yes. Is Li Na going out? There's a meeting this afternoon. Sister Li, if you're busy, I'm leaving, Li Na said and only cast a glance at Zhao Chu before walking away elegantly in her high heels. Let's go too. Li Xia turned around. With a smile on her face again, the floors above are all meeting rooms. I won't take you there. Let's go straight to the apartment. Leave the luggage and eat. My treat. Shen Zhaochu only felt that her enthusiasm was excessive. Today she had a good impression of this company, but everything seemed strange to her. Getting into the elevator, Shen Zhaochu asked in a low voice, Director, Li, do you and Lufan know each other well? Li Xia's smile froze. So that was it? Shen Zhaochu darkened her gaze, feeling an indescribable taste in her heart. Well, when he came, I received him and I have followed up on the cooperation, so we have some trust. Li Xia soon returns to normal.